Chapter 741 The princess ran away secretly. You abandoned the Kunlun realm back then, and now you want to take it for yourself. Is our Kunlun realm really destined to be the enemy of the whole world? Lu Wangshu gritted his teeth. He was very angry at Shenting's hypocritical face. At that time, the Kunlun world was the second largest world of Shenting. For the glory of Shenting, he conquered the north and south and established immortal achievements. Later, he lost his value and was ruthlessly abandoned. Now he finally embarked on the road to rise, but was stabbed in the back. How does this make him accept this cruel reality? The divine envoy Wei Wu sneered secretly in his heart, and pretended to be high-sounding on the surface. Friend Lu Dao, you can't say this. The divine court is completely considering the safety of the Kunlun realm. As long as everything in the Kunlun realm cooperates, Juyu will have no chance to take advantage of it. Do you still want the accident a while ago to happen again? The words alluded to the murder of the Lord of Heaven. Lu Wangshu's face turned the color of pig liver. This was indeed what worried him the most. Even those who were as powerful as the peerless talent he was most optimistic about were plotted by Juyu's methods, causing their cultivation to plummet, losing their fighting spirit, and just started to show off. So, Lu Wangshu was also afraid that this kind of tragedy would happen again. After all, the Kunlun realm really can't afford it. Haha, please be more open-minded, fellow Taoist Lu. Instead of being destroyed in the hands of Juyu, it would be better to be fully taken over by the divine court and save the lives of this world. The smile of the divine messenger Wei Wu was meaningful. Suddenly, a familiar clear voice sounded from outside. Old Lu, who are you talking to? I saw Yi Junlin heard the commotion and walked into the hall to find out. When he saw the wretched figure in the mirror, a look of contempt suddenly appeared on his face. Isn't this the idiot who sent the message before? Why are you bothering us again? Hear the words. Wei Wu's smile froze. When he saw the silver-haired young man with an aloof temperament, the memory of his death attacked him again. The anger inside surged out. The reason why you were smiling before was because you were really awesome and attracted the attention of the higher-ups in the divine court. Now that you have been plotted and your cultivation has fallen to the immortal king realm, what qualifications do you have to be so mad in front of me? Hey, isn't this the once arrogant Yi Tiandi? I haven't seen him so rubbish for a while. He has turned into a little immortal king. With your level of cultivation, I can kill you instantly with just a breath. Wei Wu simply stopped pretending and mocked. He believed that Yi Junlin was dead and could never regain his original glory. After all, the fall from the holy king to the immortal king was unbearable for anyone. It was normal for him to surrender. Just laugh directly without caring about the consequences. Yi Junlin's eyes looked like he was looking at a mentally retarded person, and he sneered. He is indeed an idiot. After saying that, he waved his hand to remove the mirror image. Other side, Wei Wu was waiting for the other party to become angry so that he could continue to taunt him, but the image in the mirror suddenly flashed back, leaving him stunned in place for more than 10 seconds, and then strong anger boiled in his chest, as if it was about to burn his whole body. It was like this before, and it's still like this now. Why, you guys have already fallen from the altar, how can you have the confidence to treat me like this? Ah, Wei Wu, who became more and more angry as he thought about it, once again made a sound like a groundhog. Heaven, Yi Junlin didn't take that idiot to heart at all, but turned to ask Lu Wangshu. Because he could tell that something bad must have happened. Hey, here's the thing. Lu Wangshu said everything in detail, feeling a little depressed. The predicament encountered this time is different from the past. Facing the joint attack of the 10 strongest worlds in Shenting, Kunlun realm is as weak and helpless as an antelope trapped in a pride of lions. In terms of background, it is still too shallow after all. Yi Junlin was shocked. What, there is such a thing? Actually what he wants to say is there such a benefit? Unlike Lu Wangshu who felt despair, Yi Junlin was simply ecstatic. Not only can his human emperor banner be used to add new members, but his cultivation can also be restored to its previous peak. This is simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone, so for Yi Junlin, this is indeed a benefit. Lu Wangshu sighed. It's a pity that your cultivation level has dropped. If you were still in the realm of the Holy King, then we might still have the confidence to deal with it. Now facing this situation, what are our chances of winning? He could already imagine the scene where the powerful men from all over the world gathered in Kunlun realm. It was impossible to compete with the power of heaven. Do we really want to watch Kunlun realm become an arena for all forces, and finally be captured by the divine court? Regarding this, Lu Wangshu was very pessimistic in his heart. The formation he had worked so hard to arrange was not worth mentioning at all. Yi Junlin looked indifferent and patted Lu Wangshu on the shoulder. Don't worry, Kunlun world will not fall into that situation. A wry smile appeared on Lu Wangshu's lips. If you ask me, you have a really big heart. At this point, it was useless for him to worry anymore. He could only take one step at a time. The current situation must be reported to Empress Fuyao, and then Heavenly Court can make preparations in advance. Soon, Empress Fuyao was shocked and angry when she heard the news. She didn't expect that Shenting would do this. Your Majesty the Empress, what should we do? All the heavenly officials were worried. Empress Fuyao stood up, with her hands behind her back, her eyes as cold as a divine sword, piercing the vast starry sky, and said firmly. My Kunlun realm will never surrender. The cold voice echoed in the heaven with a sense of majesty, inspiring people. There is no word of surrender in her dictionary. In just a few months, many cultivators from outside the domain have descended on Kunlun realm one after another, distributed in the 5 major domains, with strong expectations. They come from different worlds, some are the sons or daughters of a holy land, some are princes or princesses of the holy dynasty, and the children of the saints are everywhere, each with a strong background and a variety of identities. Half-saints are not qualified to appear, basically they all start with heavenly saints, ancient saints are almost the top, and there are even old monsters in the Holy King realm mixed in. It is simply a gathering of heroes, hidden dragons and crouching tigers. They knew that they had no chance to become the young master of the divine court, so they all came to watch the excitement. They wanted to witness the battle between the top 10 geniuses on the supreme list. After all, this was a rare opportunity to watch. If you miss it, you will regret it for the rest of your life. For a while, Kunlun realm was very lively and full of momentum. What is going on? Why are there so many terrifying outsiders in Kunlun realm all of a sudden? What is their purpose? Countless local cultivators felt panic and felt that a disaster was coming. There was no way. Each of these outsiders was too scary. Their aura was extremely terrifying. They walked in the world like gods and demons. Compared with them, they were as weak as ants. Fortunately, this group of outsiders did not kill or destroy crazily everywhere. They seemed to be restrained by some kind of power, which made them seem much more obedient. In fact, the reason behind it was very simple. That was because all the cultivators outside the domain knew that Kunlun realm was the territory of the future young master of the divine court. Just for this reason, they did not dare to do evil and act recklessly. Besides, those who came here were all well-known figures. Bullying a group of ants who had not yet become saints would be cheap. They were mostly just here to watch the show and laugh at the jokes of the heavenly court. In a luxurious restaurant somewhere, the top floor was booked directly. A group of tall black-robed figures stood quietly, with an unfathomable aura. They were waiting for an extremely important person. At this time, a black-robed figure who looked very petite and only 1.5 meters tall was lying in front of the railing and looking at the scenery outside. Under the hood was a sweet and delicate, doll-like lily face, with long eyelashes and red eyes like amber, flashing a bewitching light. It seemed that she thought of the current situation, and a hint of excitement appeared at the corner of her mouth. The 2 small tiger teeth were very cute, and she looked like a sickly little witch. If Yi Junlin was present, he would be surprised to recognize that this woman was actually the princess of the Asura clan, Rosa. Chapter 742, Tiandi City, Making Trouble. Hee, my father won't blame me for sneaking out, right? I'll make great contributions and give an explanation after I go back. When Rosa thought about what she was going to do on this trip, she felt very excited. Because of the excessive excitement, her cheeks even flushed, looking very attractive. Now, the eyes of the entire universe are on Kunlun realm. After all, the young master of the God Court, who has never existed before, is about to be born from this world. You must know that this is the future master of the God Court and the one who is most likely to be promoted to the Saint of Creation. For Juyu, this is bad news. It just so happens that Rosa has been in the palace for too long. She likes to do bad things, so she wants to take the opportunity to make trouble, muddy the water in Kunlun realm, and shock the monks of the God Court realm a little bit. Of course, sneaking into Kunlun realm at this juncture is extremely dangerous. What's more, her identity is the princess of the Asura clan, and her father will never agree to it anyway. Rosa, who knows this very well, secretly leads her secretly trained team of death warriors to leave the Asura realm. Rosa is no longer as powerful as she was in Beihan Immortal Domain. After many years, she has successfully been promoted to a Saint King with her superb comprehension and the huge resources of the royal family. This is not the most terrifying thing. Rosa was originally a top demon who practiced both talismans and formations. As her cultivation level has improved, her attainments in this area have become even more powerful. Take the attainments of formations for example. Now she is a great formation saint with a high status. As we all know, formation saints are divided into 9 levels. The first level formation saint arranges the lower grade formation of the true saint level, the second level formation saint arranges the middle grade formation of the true saint level, and so on. The 9th level formation saint can arrange the upper grade ancient saint level formation. As for above the formation saint, it is the great formation saint with a transcendent status. The gold content of a great formation saint is much stronger than that of an ordinary saint king. Because a formation arranged by this kind of existence is enough for several saint kings to drink a pot. Therefore, the strategic value is very high. It can often determine the outcome of a large-scale holy war. And Rosa is such a powerful character. This is not the point. The point is that she has many tricks and has reached the pinnacle in the attainment of talismans. She knows how to combine with the formation to achieve a double attack of the talisman formation and maximize the power. It can be said that Rosa is now a living witch. If many old generation saint kings are careless, they are very likely to fall into her hands. Princess, there are more and more divine monks coming to Kunlun realm during this period. We must be extra careful and not reveal our identities, a leading death warrior said in a deep voice. Rosa rolled her eyes beautifully and said unhappily, "Does this princess need you to remind me? Idiot. It's my subordinates who are stupid." The leader of the death warriors did not feel embarrassed, but lowered his head. His behavior is like a machine without emotions. As death warriors, they must obey orders unconditionally and not have any complaints. This is why they dared to follow Rosa into Kunlun realm, because if it were any other guard, they would know what was important and would definitely tell Rosa's father as soon as possible. Rosa's eyes seemed to be filled with reminiscence, and the silver-haired figure appeared in her mind. She said to herself, "I don't know how that guy is doing now. This princess wants to find him to settle the account of that year." The person she was talking about was naturally Yi Junlin. In that battle in Beihan Immortal Realm, she was defeated and the other party used some kind of evil magic, causing her belly to swell like a pregnant woman. After returning, she caused a huge public opinion storm and made the royal family lose face. Although this incident happened many years ago, Rosa's temperament has always been brooding, and the seeds of revenge have been planted in her heart. She is not the kind of person who likes to suffer in silence. Later, Yi Junlin was so powerful in the starry sky that he was unrivaled in the limelight, which made Rosa feel very complicated. There was both shock and a hint of relief. The reason is very simple. Rosa had never lost since she was a child. She was simply spoiled and arrogant, with a strong self-esteem. As a result, she was suddenly defeated by a human race and became a shame to the royal family. If she had not been backed by her father, she would have been publicly tried and executed for that failure. Fortunately, Yi Junlin later proved with his strength that he was not an ordinary person, but a super monster who could overwhelm the geniuses of all races. This also made Rosa feel relieved, and her reputation in the Shira world gradually improved. After all, can she blame her for not being strong enough to lose to such a monster? It seems understandable. Because of this, Rosa felt that the hope of revenge was getting slimmer and slimmer. Unexpectedly, things took a turn for the better. It was reported that the man was plotted against by Juyu, and his cultivation plummeted, and he also lost the position of the Lord of Heaven for this. When the news reached Juyu, all races were shocked, and the cultivators of the Shira world cheered and gloated. Rosa couldn't believe it was true. Logically, she should be happy, but for some reason, she felt a little uncomfortable. Even Rosa felt confused, as if she didn't want this to happen deep down. In order to verify, Rosa asked her father if it was true. Strangely, her father didn't say it clearly, but deliberately avoided the topic, which made Rosa more puzzled. Driven by curiosity, she was more determined to go to Kunlun realm. So, Rosa came here not only to make trouble, but also to see what Yi Junlin's current situation was. Her mind was very contradictory. On the one hand, she hoped that the other party was not as miserable as the rumors said, but on the other hand, she wanted to seek revenge on the other party and wipe out the previous shame. In short, since this princess has come here, she will not go back without accomplishing anything. As long as this princess is here, the monks in the divine court will not have an easy life, hee. Rosa said proudly. Years of hard training have made her grow up to where she is today. It's time to officially make a resounding reputation, so that the monks in the divine court will feel genuine fear and trembling when they mention her in the future. Suddenly, There was some discussion downstairs, and Rosa heard the content of the conversation clearly. Have you heard? Several of the geniuses on the Supreme List are here. Ah, then won't they fight? Why fight? It's not the time for the final battle yet. After all, none of the top 3 on the Supreme List have arrived yet. If they both lose now, aren't they afraid of being picked off in the end? That makes sense. The problem is, are they just waiting? No other moves. How is that possible? If they don't take action, the people below will. It is said that they are preparing to suppress the strongest force in the world, the Heavenly Court. Oh, now there's something interesting to watch. The Heavenly Court doesn't even have a Saint King. It's only a matter of time before it falls. That's not bad. Rosa's eyes sparkled, and a subtle arc appeared at the corner of her mouth. She knew where to go next. During this period, hearing the discussions of those powerful people from outside the domain, the Kunlun realm cultivators knew the general situation to some extent. The more this happened, the more desperate they felt, and at the same time, they felt a deep sense of uneasiness. This is troublesome. Can the Heavenly Court stop them? Well, let's hope so. The cultivators also understood that this group of outsiders was not trying to destroy the Kunlun realm, but to conquer this world with absolute power. If they succeeded, the Kunlun realm would completely lose its autonomy, which is something that a member of the Kunlun realm would not want to see anyway. Therefore, we can only hope that the Heavenly Court, the strongest force, can resist these uninvited guests. But no one has any idea about this. Because the lineup of the cultivators from outside the domain is too strong, any one of them is at the level of Heavenly Saint. How can they have fighting spirit under such circumstances? The pressure is like a mountain, pressing on the hearts of every cultivator in the Kunlun realm. The overall atmosphere is very depressing and dull. At this time, the super-large city closest to the Heavenly Court is bustling with people and very lively. This city is called Tiandi City. In order to commemorate the outstanding contributions made by Emperor Yi Tian, the Kunlun realm cultivators jointly funded the construction of the city through the matchmaking of various local forces. This is also the largest and most luxurious city in the world today. In the center of Emperor Tian City, there stands a magnificent giant statue, like a crane standing out among chickens, and the surrounding buildings seem extremely small in front of it. The statue is a handsome young man with a tall and straight figure like a green pine, a sharp face, and long hair to the waist. He stands with his hands behind his back like a Dinghai Shenzhen, giving people a sense of vast majesty and oppression. Every year, many cultivators come here to admire this statue with awe. Over time, this has become a recognized tourist attraction. It is also the favorite place for countless female cultivators to check in. In the highest standard restaurant nearby, many powerful people from outside the domain have stopped here. Each of them has a strong background and comes from a large holy world. In short, the monks from the world outside the 100 divine courts are not qualified to enter this restaurant. Invisibly, a contempt chain has been formed. In the restaurant, there are both men and women, and the atmosphere is lively with constant discussions and toasts. A blue-haired young man in a long robe with a dignified demeanor said meaningfully, "Everyone, how long do you think it will take to conquer this so-called heavenly court?" His name is Tang Feng, an immortal holy clan from a certain big world. He ranks third in the family, so he is called Tang Family San Shao. Although Tang Feng seems to have a status in the Tang family, his parents who raised him have passed away, so he has been an orphan since he was a child. That's right, Tang Family San Shao is an orphan. Seeing that all kinds of people from all walks of life gathered here, Tang Feng wanted to take the opportunity to show off. "Half a day?" another man asked tentatively. Tang Feng sneered. "Why half a day? I think half an hour is about right." Everyone was stunned, and then they laughed at the same time. "That's what you said," a burly man said seriously. "If Emperor Yi Tian had not been abolished, it would be very difficult to capture the heavenly court. Unfortunately, he has long become a thing of the past. Now it is easy to defeat the heavenly court. Emperor Yi Tian had created many brilliant achievements before, and his reputation has been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. The heavenly court with him is as solid as a rock. Now, with Emperor Yi Tian falling from the altar, the heavenly court without his protection is like a tiger without sharp claws and teeth in the eyes of these foreign cultivators. There is nothing to fear at all. Humph, what is Emperor Yi Tian? Even in his prime, he probably couldn't last a round in front of the geniuses on the supreme list. How much trouble do you expect him to make?" When saying this, Tang Feng deliberately raised his voice so that everyone in the restaurant could hear it. He just wanted to be this conspicuous package to please several people on the supreme list and build relationships. Because in the wing room on the top floor, There are several people on the supreme list, each of them is a super genius with amazing talent and extraordinary qualifications. Each of them represents a powerful holy world, and it is not an exaggeration to say that they are world sons. Because the time is not ripe, they are all checking each other on the top floor and are not in a hurry to take action. At the moment, Tang Feng is thinking about winning their attention by belittling Yi Tiandi. Dao Yu is right. Hearing Tang Feng's remarks, the smiles on everyone's faces were a little stiff, and there was a flash of contempt in their eyes. Look, this is flattery. Tang Feng was in a proud mood, but when he saw that there was no movement on the top floor, he immediately gritted his teeth and thought about doing a big job to win the attention of those people. In an instant, he seemed to think of something, and his eyes fell on the towering giant statue outside. Tang Feng's eyes suddenly burst into a ball of light. Hee, got it. Chapter 743 I can't stand it any longer. All of a sudden, Tang Feng knew what he should do. Everyone, let me see that this Emperor Yi Tian is also a person who is seeking fame and reputation. This statue is not worthy of standing here at all. After saying that, in front of everyone, Tang Feng stepped forward and reached the top of the giant statue in an instant. Wow! Sensing the danger, the statue's entire body was filled with a layer of jade-like luster, forming a barrier similar to a light shell. Inspired by the majestic power of faith of countless Kunlun monks, this statue has already developed some kind of divinity over time, and the power it releases in the face of emergencies can even rival that of the immortal emperor. But to a heavenly saint like Tang Feng, the immortal emperor is as worthless as an ant. He raised his foot and stamped it violently. In an instant, a cracking sound was heard, and the light shell covering the statue exploded. Rumbling, the whole statue was shaking violently, and there were signs of sinking, and thick smoke was billowing around it. The huge movement immediately attracted the attention of everyone in Tiandi City. When they saw the statue symbolizing Emperor Yi Tian being trampled by a strange man, the monks in the city were immediately furious and felt like they were being severely humiliated. Although Emperor Yi Tian has long since fallen from the altar and his glory is no longer there, in the hearts of every monk in the Kunlun world, he is an eternal god. It is not allowed to be blasphemed by others. As a result, the statue representing Emperor Yi Tian was trampled by an outsider today. This move is tantamount to a slap in the face of every monk in Kunlun realm. What are you doing? Come down quickly, many monks shouted angrily. Huh, a bunch of ants. Seeing the excited crowd, Tang Feng raised a contemptuous smile on his lips, and his bastard aura opened up, calming them down. Sure enough, he is a strong person from outside the territory. Many monks felt this terrifying aura, feeling both fear and aggrieved in their hearts. Li Qingshan, the city lord who guards Tiandi City, is a semi-saint. As early as when the outside monks gathered in Tiandi City, he felt a lot of pressure. He lived every day in fear, walking on thin ice, and was deeply afraid that this group of outside monks would cause trouble in Tiandi City. Although in the Kunlun world, the half-saint is definitely a high-end combat power and has the capital to stand out from the rest, but in this situation, he feels as powerless as a mortal. Now, seeing an outsider cultivator openly stepping on the statue of Emperor Yi Tian, Li Qingshan, who wanted to avoid his sharp attack, felt his heart was stabbed severely. Unable to bear it, he decided to stand up and stop the opponent. Stop your rude behavior immediately, otherwise heaven will investigate you and you will be responsible for the consequences. Li Qingshan blushed and scolded. Heaven, Tang Feng looked down at the middle-aged man with a playful look in his eyes. He raised his foot and stepped down again. Boom. The statue sank heavily again, and its head and chest began to show signs of fragmentation. With Tang Feng's strength, he could crush this kind of statue with just one foot, but he had to hold back most of his strength so that he could step on it step by step, which would have a more humiliating effect. Li Qingshan and the others' eyes were about to burst, and their eyes were bloodshot. Haha, it won't take long for the entire heaven to fall completely. Do you still expect heaven to punish me? What a joke. It's better to kneel down and beg me. Maybe I can consider stopping. Tang Feng said with a sneer, and stepped on it again. The statue made a loud rumble, and the signs of its broken body became more and more serious. It's too much to bully others. The eyes of the monks in the city were red, their chests were heaving, and their fists were clenched tightly. Li Qingshan gritted his teeth, his heart filled with intense humiliation. He wanted to call on everyone to fight, but he knew that he could only make unnecessary sacrifices, but he could not just watch the statue be destroyed. Anger, pain, discomfort, unwillingness and other emotions brewed in his heart. Finally, he fell to his knees like a deflated ball and said sadly, Senior, this statue means a lot to us. Please stop. We will keep your great kindness in mind. When he said this, Li Qingshan seemed to have aged many years. City Lord, everyone cried out sadly. Ha 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 ha, that's what's right. Tang Feng put his hands on his hips and laughed wantonly, his laughter full of endless ridicule. The more Li Qingshan begged him, the more complacent he became. In the restaurant, the monks from outside the realm had different expressions on their faces when they saw this scene, but they did not stop this bad behavior. At the same time, a group of black-robed figures appeared in a certain alley. The one at the head was the shortest. When he raised his head, he revealed a delicate and lovely face, and his amber-red eyes flashed with a hint of dissatisfaction. No one expected that the most noble princess of the Asura clan had quietly lurked into the Tiandi city. For the Shenting world, all 9 nether creatures are mortal enemies, let alone a being with Rosa's status. Seeing Tang Feng trampling the statue, Rosa felt inexplicably unhappy. This bitch, I really want to teach him a lesson. She took out a high-level talisman, and her heart was about to move. As long as she is willing, Tang Feng will be blasted to pieces in the next second. Princess, calm down. It is said that the people on the Supreme List are all here. We must not alert the enemy. The leader of the dead soldiers said anxiously. Oh, this is so annoying. Rosa was so angry that she raised her foot and stepped on the other person's foot. Hiss. The leader of the dead soldiers grimaced in pain and his face twitched. Rumble. As Tang Feng continued to step on it repeatedly, the giant statue under his feet had more and more cracks. It looked overwhelmed and seemed to burst into pieces soon. Senior, don't step on it, I beg you, don't step on it. Li Qingshan was worried and begged bitterly. When everyone saw this, they couldn't care less about anything else and fell to their knees one after another, begging humbly for mercy. This statue of Emperor Yi Tian has a very special status in the minds of the Kunlun monks. They really don't want to see the statue broken. Ah ha 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 ha, Tang Feng laughed more and more crazily, and the joy in his heart was overwhelming. He just wants to slowly humiliate these Kunlun monks. As for this statue, what if it is stepped on and exploded? From the beginning, he never thought about stopping. Damn it, this princess can't bear it anymore. Seeing that man's sullen expression, Rosa was so angry that she couldn't stand it anymore. She couldn't bear it any longer and was about to throw out the talisman in her hand. Suddenly, in the distant horizon, a fiery red silhouette flew like a phoenix spreading its wings, bringing a scorching wave of air to the Emperor city. The extremely powerful aura instantly overshadowed Tang Feng. Suddenly, an extremely cold voice with endless murderous intent echoed in every corner of the city, making people feel as if they were falling into an abyss and freezing to the bone. You're looking for death. Tang Feng's scalp was numb, and he instinctively felt a sense of danger of death in his heart. He said angrily, who the hell dares to say such arrogant words? Eat me with a blue-silver entanglement. Immediately afterwards, he waved his hand and released overwhelming blue vines. Each vine contained terrifying power and roughly tore the void apart. However, an unexpected scene happened. Countless blue vines seemed to be ignited and quickly burned into ashes without even touching the opponent's figure. How is this possible? Tang Feng was shocked. This is his famous stunt as the third young master of the Tang family. One hand is wrapped with blue silver and cannot be recognized by relatives. It can be said that this is a new trick that will be used all over the world. As a result, one meeting was shattered. Sensing something bad, Tang Feng wanted to pull away, but it was too late. A white jade hand grabbed his neck from the air and lifted it up forcefully. Aha! Tang Feng was horrified to find that the power in his body seemed to be suppressed, and he couldn't exert any strength. Everyone was stunned and looked at the fiery red figure in surprise. Her clothes are swaying, she has a slender figure, a waterfall of black hair reaching her waist, her beautiful face is indistinguishable from male to female, her phoenix eyes are like cold stars, and her eyebrows are sharp. Although she was so beautiful that she could dazzle all sentient beings, the temperament she exuded at this time was so cold that it chilled people's hearts. Looking at the guy in front of him who was looking for death, Hong Chenyi's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Heavenly Court has already been on full alert. Everyone also knows that Tiandi City has gathered a lot of powerful people from outside the territory, and it is even said that several peerless geniuses from the so-called Supreme List have settled there. I originally wanted to wait and see what would happen, but the despicable methods Tang Feng used suddenly ignited the anger in everyone's hearts. As time passed, Hong Chenyi couldn't bear it anymore, openly disobeying Lu Wangshu's orders, and desperately came to Tiandi City to find this guy who had humiliated his master. Heaven, when everyone saw this scene, it was difficult to understand their feelings. Hey, I was impulsive after all. Lu Wangshu sighed, with deep worry in his eyes. What he was most afraid of was the group of strong foreigners in Tiandi City. He just wanted to concentrate his efforts on defending in heaven, but he didn't expect that this trouble would appear in the middle. Li Wuji gritted his teeth in anger. Damn, he was a step too fast. I just wanted to go over and chop that thing to death. What should we do now? Fellow Taoist Red has a special status, so no accidents can happen. Someone worried. We must go and pick him up. But this will only fall into the enemy's scheme. They obviously want to defeat them one by one. If something happens to fellow Taoist Red, who among you will answer to the Emperor of Heaven? Heard the controversy, Lu Wangshu was hesitant and extremely anxious. After his transformation, Heavenly Court is like a mobile war fortress. Even if it faces the ancient holy capital without fear, what worries the most is the kind of powerful Saint Kings. According to the news he received, the number of Saint Kings can be far more than just a few. What's more, Empress Fuyao is cultivating in secret. At this juncture, all heaven can do is endure. A little impatience leads to a big conspiracy. Grandma, don't you dare go up, labor and management go up. Li Wuji couldn't hold it any longer, and in front of everyone's shocked eyes, he rushed forward with his knife in hand. Although he and Benny Chenny usually hurt each other, they must attack both sides at critical moments. Lu Wangshu was unable to stop it and felt very tired. The big Mushroom King frowned and silently retreated behind everyone. He felt it was necessary to report this matter to Master. Chapter 744. Who else? Tiandi City. Dead silence. Li Qingshan and the others were stunned. Seeing the arrogant saint from outside the domain just now being pinched by Hong Chenny and unable to resist like a chick, the shock in their hearts can be imagined. Save me quickly. Tang Feng's face turned liver-colored, and he asked for help from the restaurant. He didn't expect that the strength of the woman in front of him was so terrifying. Now that his life was in someone else's hands, all he could do was to ask for help from the group of foreign monks in the restaurant. In the restaurant, the faces of the men and women were full of wonderful expressions. They were not ordinary people. They were all saints with great backgrounds, among which the majority were heavenly saints, followed by ancient saints. When they saw Tang Feng being defeated by Hong Chenny at the first sight, they were a little scared and their eyes were full of fear. For a while, no one dared to speak. Hong Chenny sneered, "You are just a bunch of scoundrels, how dare you act violently in front of my heavenly court? Especially insulting my master, you deserve to be killed." Senran's voice was icy cold, and the killing intent was very strong. You are Yi Tiandi's disciple." Tang Feng regretted it in his heart. He shouldn't have been the first to come out. Now, the disciple came to settle accounts with him. Die. Hong Chenny grabbed him and smashed him hard, flying towards the restaurant like a cannonball, and then clenched his right hand fiercely. At the same time, Tang Feng's body was burned by the raging fire, and turned into ashes and dissipated in the air with a bang. The action was done in one go, and everyone was stunned. I have heard of him. He is Yi Tiandi's eldest disciple, known as the Red Emperor. A young man said excitedly. Li Qingshan burst into tears and shouted, "See the Red Emperor! We are seeing the Red Emperor!" The cultivators of Tiandi City shouted with awe. All the black history of Hong Chenny has been erased. Now he is no longer called the Red Devil in Kunlun Realm, but the Red Emperor. The faces of the foreign masters in the restaurant were gloomy, and some even showed anger. The death of Tang Feng was not the point, but the way of death. It was obvious that he was killing a chicken to scare the monkeys and deliberately intimidate them. You know, they are all well-known figures, claiming to be more noble than the cultivators in Kunlun Realm, but they can't stand such a thing. Humph, it turns out to be Yi Tiandi's apprentice. Is this provoking us? Another tall man said dissatisfiedly. Public execution, this is obviously a demonstration to us. What a courage! A series of angry shouts rang out, and the murderous intent in the air boiled. Hong Chenny stood tall, with a temperament beyond the world, and said coldly, "If any one of you is dissatisfied, stand up. I will accompany you to the end." As soon as these words came out, the whole city was like a pot of boiling water. In the restaurant, the murderous intent in the air soared. They all knew that Hong Chenny was very powerful, and they had some concerns in their hearts, but as Hong Chenny challenged them from a distance, they could not bear it no matter how much they could. This is a matter of face. If this matter is spread, where will they put their faces when they go back? I'll meet you. Among them, a middle-aged man wearing an ancient crown and luxurious clothes, with a terrifying golden light in his eyes, stepped out. The aura emanating from his body is very powerful, and it is actually the level of the peak of Tiansheng. I recognize him, he is the deputy hall master of Tianwu Temple. If he takes action, that guy will definitely die. What a pity, he looks pretty good. Hey, can you men not be so superficial? Ahem, according to the information I have learned, that guy is also a man. Ah, then, the middle-aged man's body was covered with white holy patterns, covering every inch of his skin, and when he waved his fists, it was full of mysterious boxing true meaning. The holy energy between heaven and earth was boiling wildly, and the sky was thundering and rumbling. This punch is the power of my life. Can you block it? After saying that, he punched fiercely, and the fist force was so surging that it was like an angry dragon flying. A trifle, Hong Chenny sneered, and used all his strength to operate the flame-holy body. Endless holy flames swirled around his body, and his whole body seemed to have turned into a blazing sun. In an instant, the punch made by the middle-aged man was quickly resolved, and then counterattacked by a surge of red flames. Ah, the raging fire burned around his body, and he couldn't suppress it even if he wanted to. The middle-aged man screamed miserably, and finally turned into ashes in the flames, and his soul was destroyed. What? Everyone was shocked. The deputy hall master of the Tianwu Holy Temple was at least a top Tiansheng level strongman, but he was killed in a single encounter. Is this disciple of Yi Tiandi so powerful? Hong Chenny brushed his sleeves, his eyes were cold and intimidating, and he shouted coldly, who else? These three short words were like a heavy hammer hitting the hearts of all the cultivators. The power of the Red Emperor. We bow down to him. Li Qingshan and the others said with trembling voices and excited expressions. It seemed that all the humiliation they had just suffered was poured out at this moment. The cultivators from outside the domain were almost shocked. To be able to kill the top heavenly saint in one move, this is beyond the scope of a normal heavenly saint. Does it take an ancient saint to suppress him? You are just a native, and you dare to shout. After I suppress you and destroy your cultivation, you will be my male favorite. A hoarse and unpleasant voice sounded from the top of the restaurant. It was a strange old man in a black robe, with a long sharp beak in his mouth, shining with metallic luster, dressed like a crow, exuding a cold breath. This is the famous Black Crow Saint. He is a ruthless character. Someone exclaimed. Hearing the name of the Black Crow Saint, many saints from outside the domain showed a trace of fear and disgust. The Black Crow Saint is a notorious powerful demon. His cultivation is in the realm of ancient saints. His methods are extremely cruel. It is rumored that he is particularly fond of good-looking boys. Once they fall into his hands, their end is very miserable. Therefore, when he learned that Hong Chenny was a man, he immediately aroused the strong interest of the Black Crow Saint. He couldn't wait to take action, suppress Hong Chenny, such a top-notch girl, and take her back to be a male pet. Ga ga ga, the harsh crow cry sounded, breaking through the sky. The Black Crow Saint appeared outside the restaurant and raised his hand to grab it. Suddenly, countless black crows with red eyes condensed into a pitch-black big hand and slapped Hong Chenny. This contained the holy intention of the monarch. The biggest difference between the ancient saint and the heavenly saint is whether there is a holy intention, and there is a clear difference in strength. Boom! Hong Chenny felt a lot of pressure, and the flame power released from his body showed signs of being suppressed instantly. Don't struggle, you can't beat me. The Black Crow Saint Lord smiled with a gleam in his eyes. Soon, sweat overflowed from Hong Chenny's forehead. If it weren't for the support of the holy body, he would have been suppressed by now. In this case, the next second, Hong Chenny decided not to hide his clumsiness anymore and cast the fire attribute spell ranked in the top 5 of the 3000 Flame Sutras. Buzz buzz buzz. As the surging flame energy wave came out, the temperature in the air instantly reached its peak. Hong Chenny pinched his fingers to cast a spell and pointed forward fiercely. Shua, a pure white holy flame like a column of air shot out, but it contained incomparable terrifying power, and the eyes of the people who witnessed this scene flashed with extreme shock. This is the Nanming Lihuo. Chapter 749 Defeat is inevitable. Damn, did you do this on purpose? You happened to come out at this time, causing all of my high-level puppets to be destroyed. Jehovah was so angry that he vomited blood and roared. A total of 40 holy kings were killed, and not a single one was left. This wave of losses was definitely very painful. The other circles did not respond, and their attention was focused on Empress Fuyao. Through the battle just now, they had a comprehensive understanding of Empress Fuyao's strength. It must be handled with caution. Do you also want to be my enemy? Empress Fuyao's tone was cold. In fact, she was secretly running her skills crazily to quickly recover her body and prepare for the next battle. After all, killing 40 holy kings in a row, even if most of them are ordinary people, still consumes a lot of money in the process. Empress Fuyao, you are the one who wants to be our enemy. If you agree to withdraw from this fight, I guarantee that you will not be harmed in any way. Xu Beishan said politely. He still retains respect for the ancient supreme being like Empress Fuyao, and the other party's strength is indeed good. He really doesn't want to waste energy on her unless it is absolutely necessary. The three people coming from behind are his biggest threats. A flash of dissatisfaction flashed in Oster's eyes, and he muttered, "Damn it, I made the decision without permission again." If he hadn't experienced Xu Beishan's terrifying strength and saw the other party pretending to be the boss, he would have wanted to give Xu Beishan a harsh lesson based on his temper. Empress Fuyao said coldly, "Whoever wants to harm the Kunlun world is my enemy. I will do my best to stop it, even if it costs me my life." When she said this, her tone was very firm. "Haha, you made the most wrong choice in your life." Xu Beishan's expression gradually turned cold, his voice had a hint of murderous intent, and an extremely terrifying aura surged from his body. "What's the point of talking to this bitch? Just kill her." Oster couldn't wait any longer. He roared like a gorilla and took the lead in charging with eagerness to fight. The Titan's power exploded in full force, and the punch was like billions of meteorites falling. The power was enough to destroy a world. Feeling the astonishing power of the fist, Empress Fuyao acted calmly and moved her hands back and forth as if to use the force to deal with this terrifying power of the fist. Boom boom boom. However, the impact was too great. Even if she was quite accomplished in using softness to overcome strength, she could not offset the terrifying power of this punch at all. Empress Fuyao was shaken so hard that she fell back, blood surged in her body, and she frowned in discomfort. "Oh, you can actually block it, you're really quite capable." Oster's face was a little confused, and his eyes flashed with ferocious light, which further aroused his inner desire to fight. Swish, 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 the fists fell like a rain of meteorites, the power of the fists was unparalleled and invincible. Empress Fuyao used her body skills to avoid as much as possible while resisting with all her strength. Several other world disciples also joined the battle, forming a siege on Empress Fuyao, constantly compressing the space for her to use her body skills. Sun and Moon Protection Spell. Forced by the critical moment, Empress Fuyao had no choice but to activate this defensive spell. In just a moment, he withstood a large amount of damage. Under the siege of all the worldlings, she tossed and turned and kept dealing with them, feeling as if she was fighting against the heroes all by herself. Shocking, draw your sword and strike. Suddenly, a cold shout sounded out, and a terrifying sword light struck, falling hard on her Sun and Moon protective curse, and then indescribable cracks appeared. The one who drew the sword was none other than Lu Bai, the master of the 10,000 Swords realm. He was not in a hurry to draw his sword, but kept looking for opportunities. This sword almost broke Empress Fuyao's defense. Empress Fuyao's eyes were cold. She did not give up even though she was trapped in a tight siege, but quickly looked for a breakthrough. The light of reincarnation. The next second, she displayed this great magical power, and the light flooded the surrounding circles in an instant. The field of vision suddenly turned white. Ah, countless people's eyes hurt and they couldn't open their eyes. What the hell? Oster instinctively sensed the danger and turned from attack to defense to block this violent energy impact. The other members of the world were shocked and retreated, with a hint of fear in their eyes. If they faced this move alone, they would be in danger. After Empress Fuyao gained the upper hand with one move, she set her sights on the weakest people, including Jelhua. While you can still fight, kill as many as you can. With this thought in mind, Empress Fuyao resolutely launched her most powerful killing move. The Art of Great Annihilation. Moment. An unparalleled destructive force descended, and the entire Kunlun world showed signs of trembling. It's over, this is coming for me. Jelhua was so frightened that his scalp was numb. His own strength is not very strong, and he mainly relies on 40 Holy King level puppets. Now that he has lost such high-level puppets, his combat power is not even as good as that of the world ranked 10th on the Supreme list. At this moment, he is facing this big killing move made my heart extremely timid and scared to death. At this moment, a huge dark golden light curtain appeared, blocking the extremely powerful technique of annihilation. Boom boom boom. On the light screen, majestic energy fluctuations shook out, until the great annihilation technique gradually disappeared into nothing. Everyone looked around in shock. It was a handsome young man with a third eye on his forehead. The light was released from the third eye. It was obviously the power of the divine eye. Xu Beishan put his hands behind his back, his figure was as straight as a spear, his eyes were extremely cold, and he said in a deep voice, "I will not let you succeed." The defensive light curtain released just now is just one of the abilities of his God Eye. In addition, his God Eye has various abilities, and it is known as the most comprehensive God Eye in the God Eye clan. Facing the action of Empress Fuyao to kill several Jay-Z first, Shu Beishan saw the opportunity and directly shattered her idea. Ha ha ha, Brother Shu is still reliable. Yelahua realized that he was out of danger, and couldn't help but let out a long sigh and laughed. Empress Fuyao's heart sank to the bottom of the valley, and fine sweat overflowed from her forehead. She suddenly felt like she was fighting a trapped beast. Even she couldn't help but feel powerless. At the beginning, she was besieged by the giants of Juyu, but fortunately, her cultivation was almost the same, and she was able to kill many giants with force. Now, she lags behind these realms in cultivation, and can only rely on strength to make up for it, but even so, it is difficult to catch up, resulting in not killing any of them. The dilemma she faces today is even worse than before. No, my cultivation. Empress Fuyao sensed something, and her aura was rapidly declining. Because the blessing time of the heavenly Tao had passed, she fell from the realm of Saint King to the original quasi-Saint King, and her strength was greatly reduced. It was simply adding insult to injury. In this way, facing the siege of the realms, Empress Fuyao was even less confident of resisting. The defeat was certain. Chapter 750. It turns out that you were just pretending. In this situation, the monks in Kunlun realm were desperate, and they only regretted that they were powerless and couldn't do much to help. Fighting to the end for all the people in the world, this is a truly admirable empress. Look, I said that times have changed. Faced with the siege of all the realms, even Empress Fuyao will be defeated. This is the fact, an outsider sneered. Who can be blamed for this? It's because she couldn't understand the situation. She can't blame anyone for reaching this point. Tisk, tisk, what a pity. At first, these foreign monks were really afraid that Empress Fuyao could make a comeback, because then they would have to flee the Kunlun realm in despair. Later, it turned out that they thought too much. This is impossible. Empress Fuyao gritted her teeth. She didn't feel any regret at this moment, only deep unwillingness. If she was given enough time, none of the 7 worlds combined would be her opponent. Unfortunately, there is no if. Yelahua's eyes were filled with hatred and he sneered. You woman, caused me to lose all my high-level puppets. As compensation, I will refine you into a puppet and be driven by me forever, so that I can relieve the hatred in my heart. Although Empress Fuyao had a relationship with the senior in the puppet world, Yelahua, who was overwhelmed with anger, didn't care about it. He just wanted to recover the losses as much as possible, so he took a fancy to the potential of Empress Fuyao's body. If it could, refining it into a puppet and cultivating it to the realm of a holy king would also significantly improve his strength. There was a hint of contempt in the eyes of all the world disciples. They really couldn't praise this person's character, it was simply extremely bad. Upon seeing this, Shu Beishan's lips burst into a sneer, and the divine eyes between his brows released traces of terrifying aura, preparing to deliver a fatal blow to completely kill Empress Fuyao. In both public and private matters, he would not let this brat Yelahua get his wish. It's not that easy to kill me. Empress Fuyao knew that she was bound to die. She just wanted to burst out with the last ray of light before she died, so that she could live up to her reputation as an empress. Your Majesty the Empress, the monks in heaven cried out sadly. Lu Wangshu looked sad. He felt very powerless and did not want to watch Empress Fuyao die. But what can be done? Even if they gather the power of heaven, they can't defeat 1 realm disciple, let alone 7 realm disciples. In the final analysis, time is still too late. If there was enough time for the Kunlun world to develop well, then such a shameful thing as today would never happen. On the other side, Rosa sighed secretly. Putting aside her personal stance, Empress Fuyao is indeed a heroine worthy of admiration. It's a pity that her time has passed. Suddenly, Rosa seemed to notice something, and her pupils shrank in shock, making it difficult to see what was going on. Wait, what is he going to do? Is he going to die? Within the field of vision, the silver-haired young man walked straight out of the heavenly palace and headed in the direction of Empress Fuyao. This move also stunned everyone. This is the Emperor of Heaven. Master. There were exclamations everywhere, everyone was frightened by Yi Junline's actions. Everyone even thought that Yi Junline wanted to accompany Empress Fuyao to death. All the world disciples showed strange expressions. Yelahua sneered and said, I know you will be next, so why don't you just come over and die with her? This was the only explanation he could think of. After all, the opponent's only support was the Holy King level thug. Now that the situation was over, he was the one who would be implicated next, so he could only stand up and die calmly. Fellow Taoist Yi, Empress Fuyao's eyes were complicated. This is the demon-level talent she admires the most. Unfortunately, Juyu plotted against him and his cultivation plummeted. Otherwise, the situation would not be as bad as it is now. Yi Junlin sneered. Who said I want to die? I'm afraid it's you who want to die. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions were dull. Yelahua was extremely angry and laughed back. Now that things have happened, what qualifications do you have to say this? Do you want to rely on your holy king level thug? Yi Junlin said disdainfully. I just asked him to come out and play with you. Do you really think I need to rely on him to make a comeback? I don't pay attention to an opponent of your level at all. If you don't believe it, just come and try it. If I don't blast the hammer, you'll be done. Hear the words. Many people were stunned, because in their opinion, Yi Junlin's cultivation was clearly at the Immortal King level, so what confidence did he have to dare to say such cruel words? Only friends and disciples who know Yi Junlin will have their eyes lit up and find a sense of familiarity in it. Yes, that's what it feels like. No matter how big the dilemma is, as long as this man shows this reaction, it means that the problem will be solved. Does he still have a trump card? Lu Wangshu was surprised and doubtful, and there was a faint hope in his heart. We believe in Master, Hong Chenny and other disciples said firmly. Because Jelahua was tricked once, he suddenly retreated. He had a feeling that this was a trap, but he just couldn't figure out what kind of trap it was. Oster, who had the hottest temper, was so angry when he saw this scene. Although he was not the one being provoked, he was still very annoyed because Yi Junlin was so pretentious and it directly hit his point of anger. Human race, take a punch from me. As soon as he finished speaking, his fist, packed with infinite power, hit Yi Junlin hard. The surging fist force rolled and shattered the void. Ding, the host is detected to be attacked by a 7th level Saint King enemy. Now the passive effect of getting stronger when facing a strong enemy is triggered, and the cultivation of the 8th level Saint King is obtained. Closing square bracket. The next moment, Yi Junlin's cultivation rose rapidly, from the Immortal King to the Saint King, directly achieving an incredible leap. This is not over yet, the system prompt sounded again. Ding, the host is detected to have completed a temporary task, and the reward is the Royal Grade Saint Will. Closing square bracket. Suddenly, Yi Junlin has some wonderful changes, and his temperament has been improved invisibly. Just now, the system triggered a random task, which is to let him provoke one of the realms. As long as one of the realms can't stand it and takes the initiative to attack him, then the task is considered completed, and the reward is the Royal Grade Saint Will. Originally, Yi Junlin's target was placed on Yelahua, but it was Oster who took action. Fortunately, the result was the same, and it was also considered to have completed the task. At this moment, Yi Junlin, who is in charge of the Royal Grade Saint Will, has a basic combat power that is dozens of times stronger than before the original realm fell. He can beat 10 of his former selves with one hand. Possessing the Royal Grade Saint Will, the span of strength is so great. What? Oster's eyes widened, as if he saw an incredible scene. How did this person's cultivation suddenly soar from the Immortal King to the Saint King? In terms of cultivation, he was actually superior to him. Fighting Holy Fist. The holy power in Yi Junlin's body surged, and his body released a majestic holy energy. The golden light of his fist was as blazing as the sun, and he hit it out brazenly. Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis rose in Oster's heart, and his hair exploded all over his body, as if he had encountered some extremely terrifying monster, showing his deadly fangs at him. Boom! The two fists collided heavily, shaking out a vast energy fluctuation. Soon, in the shocked eyes of everyone, the Titan Realm's Jay-Z flew backwards, his fists were bleeding, and his arms were full of scars and tattered. Oster barely stabilized his body in midair, his face twitched in pain, and his eyes showed fear. Not only was his punch completely blocked, but his arm was also injured. This kind of blow has never been seen before. Fellow Taoist Yi, how is your cultivation? Empress Fuyao was shocked. Her pupils reflected the peerless silver-haired figure, and her heart seemed to be stirred up by huge waves. The first thing she could think of was that Yi Junlin deliberately concealed his true cultivation, or deceived everyone and made a plan with great effort. Released false information to deliberately confuse all forces outside the domain. In the end, the net was officially closed. It is no wonder that Empress Fuyao would think so. After all, how could any strong man who fell to the realm of Immortal King return to the realm of Saint King in such a short time? Therefore, deliberately concealing the cultivation and setting a trap to attract the enemy is the most reasonable explanation. As the thought turned, Empress Fuyao looked at Yi Junlin with a different look, and even the image of the other party in her mind was raised to a whole new height. No wonder he looked so indifferent before, it turned out that everything was expected. The world was silent, countless unbelievable eyes were focused on Yi Junlin. It turns out that nothing happened to Emperor Yi Tian, he just pretended everything. Someone slapped his head and suddenly realized. Haha, who said that Emperor Yi Tian fell from the altar? In my heart, Emperor Yi Tian is always the god. Emperor Yi Tian is awesome. Emperor Yi Tian is mighty. The 5 major domains were in an uproar, and the discussion swept every corner like a storm. Countless cultivators believed that Yi Junlin deliberately concealed his cultivation and released false news to the outside world. The purpose of doing this is to attract invaders and catch them all in one fell swoop. You know, this is definitely an extremely bold move, and if you are not careful, you will be backfired. The expressions on the faces of everyone in the heavenly court are very interesting. It turns out that all this time was pretended. They worried for nothing. Lu Wangshu recovered from his shock and beat his chest in anger. Little friend Yi, you have kept it from me so miserable. That's what he said, but he was happy in his heart. After all, as long as Yi Junlin didn't have any accidents, it would be a great joy for Kunlun realm. This is the real pillar. In the alley, Rose's lips opened into an O shape when she saw this reversal, just like a shocked little loli. It took a long time for her mouth to close. Then she stamped her feet in anger. Stinky man, you made this princess really worried about you. It turns out that you were pretending everything. Rose's mood was a bit complicated. On the one hand, she blamed Yi Junlin for hiding his cultivation, and on the other hand, she felt fortunate. Of course, she would never admit this. HMPH, this way, my revenge will be more challenging. Otherwise, it will be too easy to suppress you. Then, Rosa began to act, ready to give everyone a little shock. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 751 Kill. Seeing Yi Junlin suddenly showing great strength and knocking back a figure like Oster with one punch, everyone in the world was shocked, with expressions of disbelief on their faces. After considering the current situation, they realized that this was a scam. This guy has not plummeted in cultivation as rumored. Everything is false, and all living beings in the universe have been deceived. What a big deal. You are so scheming that you actually released false news to the outside world. Do you want to lure us here and catch them all? Lu Bai said with an ugly face. Now, this is the only explanation. Otherwise, he really couldn't figure out why the other party did this. Because it's fun. Are you kidding me? A chill ran down Yelahua's back, and the uneasiness in his heart became more and more intense. He started to feel scared and regretful. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have taken a trip into this muddy water. Snort. Suddenly, a cold snort sounded like a dull thunderous explosion, shaking everyone's hearts. Shu Baishan's eyes were cold to the bone. He stared at Yi Junlin, and said in a cold voice, "You dare to play tricks on us." He originally thought that his opponents would be among the top 3 in the supreme ranking, but he found an unexpected and powerful opponent midway through. If he really knew this, he would never take action rashly, but would choose to continue to tolerate it and reap the benefits. Now, due to a mistake in judgment, he entered the game early, which is obviously extremely detrimental to the subsequent struggle for hegemony. Therefore, Shu Baishan hated Yi Junlin very much, and his murderous intention reached its peak. In this situation, we can only do one thing at a time to eliminate this threat, and then adjust our state to deal with the 3 powerful enemies coming from behind. Yi Junlin smiled playfully. Then what? What can you do? I can kill you. Cold words came out heavily from the thin lips. The next moment, Shu Baishan's whole body erupted with terrifying aura, and the divine eyes between his brows gathered endless energy. During the process, night and day alternated crazily, which actually affected the celestial phenomena of the entire Kunlun realm. Shu Baishan was completely angry. When dealing with Empress Fuyao, he didn't put in much effort at all. Instead, he was paddling frantically because he wanted to retain as much strength as possible to deal with the subsequent situation. Of course, Empress Fuyao is not worthy of his full strength at the moment. But Yi Junlin is different, because Yi Junlin has already shown a big enough threat. It must be strangled with all our strength. Fellow Taoist Yi, be careful. Empress Fuyao looked solemn, realizing that in the battle just now, Shu Baishan actually released a lot of water, and his true combat power was enough to kill her in one go. At this moment, I can only place my hope on this person. Don't worry, just go back and rest, and leave the rest to me. Yi Junlin waved his hand. Afterwards, Empress Fuyao returned to the heaven to rest, and everyone in the heaven had their hearts in their throats. Kill you first, then kill them. Shu Beishan sneered. Then let's see if you have this ability. Yi Junlin joked. Boom boom boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a majestic beam of energy shot out that shocked the people in the world, and it seemed that all life would be wiped out under this devastating impact. Jelahua and the others were all shocked, and for the first time they had a clear understanding of Shu Beishan's true strength. Yi Junlin didn't panic at all. There was a golden holy sword in his hand. All his strength was crazily poured into the holy sword, and the sword body burst out with extremely bright and dazzling light. Then, he raised his head high and suddenly chopped it down. The brilliant and immortal golden sword light collided with this dark golden light beam, creating unparalleled energy fluctuations in a moment. Shu Beishan frowned, and a trace of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He felt an unprecedented resistance. It took almost all of his strength. If he aimed at Oster, the monster known as the strongest defense, he could defeat it with overwhelming force, leaving his life or death uncertain. However, it was blocked by an equally powerful force at this moment, which made Shu Beishan, who was originally full of confidence, suddenly have an ominous premonition. This person cannot be kept. Lu Bai realized the seriousness of the problem, used his unique movement technique, walked around Yi Junlin's side, and stabbed out with his sword. The sword light is fast and accurate, very deadly. Carrying out a sneak attack. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. He freed up one hand and combined his fingers to strike with a sword, mixed with an eternal sword force. This is. Lu Bai was immediately shocked. He had only seen this kind of sword power from his master, who was also the master of the 10,000 swords realm. Could it be that what the other party understood was the eternal sword heart that was above the invincible sword heart? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. This person is currently in the realm of the Holy King, and he is still so young. How can he have such superb achievements in the field of swordsmanship? Can he actually rival his master, the Lord of 10,000 swords? For a moment, Lu Bai's Taoist heart was shaken. He, who had always been aloof and arrogant, simply could not accept this fact. It is precisely because of this that he showed his flaws when he was absent-minded. PFF'd. Lu Bai's left arm was cut off, blood spattered, and his face twisted in pain for a moment. Compared with the pain of a broken arm, the inner pain is the most terrifying. At the same time, Yi Junlin, who had the blessing of the eternal sword heart, quickly overwhelmed the vast power of the divine eye. Not good. Shu Beishan was horrified and quickly switched his power to defense. A dark golden light curtain instantly opened up and blocked in front of him. Boom! In a huge explosion of light, Shu Beishan flew backwards with blood-stained, blood gushing out of his mouth, his eyes full of astonishment. What happened? It's a bit too strong. In fact, it seems incredible to outsiders, but it's normal when you think about it carefully. In terms of cultivation, Yi Junlin is equal to Shu Beishan, and he also has the Emperor's holy will, but the only difference, and the biggest gap, is that Yi Junlin has the legendary eternal sword heart. This is the realm that countless sword cultivators in the universe dream of. Take the Divine Court as an example. At present, the only one who can reach this realm is the old master of the 10,000 swords realm. It is conceivable how difficult it is. At this time, the eternal sword heart opened, and Yi Junlin directly defeated Shu Beishan with an absolute advantage. This made all the cultivators outside the domain dumbfounded. Are you kidding me? So strong. No wonder he dared to use himself as bait to lure the pride of the Supreme List. That's it. Yi Junlin stood with a sword in his hand, with a playful smile on his face. Shu Beishan stabilized his body, his expression was extremely embarrassed. This was completely different from what he expected. He glanced at the other shrinking Jay-Z and shouted angrily, "Don't retreat. Whoever retreats, I will kill him first." Hearing this, Yelahua and the others changed their faces and cried out in their hearts. Damn, even you can't beat them, do you want us to die? It's too late to escape, all of you die. Yi Junlin's figure was like the wind, and he handed out a sword, the sword energy was surging, and the sword was invincible. The spearhead was pointed at Yelahua and the others. Stop it quickly, Shu Beishan exclaimed. Unfortunately, the lower-ranked Tianzhao like Yelahua were not worth mentioning at this moment. Facing Yi Junlin, who had an advantage in cultivation and opened the eternal sword heart, they were swept away like chickens and dogs. Screams rang out one after another. Yelahua and others were killed by a sword, and blood was spilled in the air. Only Shu Beishan, Oster, and Lu Bai were left at the scene. As for the other 4 Jay-Z, they were all dead, and any means of resistance were useless. After all, these people were at most the top level of the second echelon. Even Shu Beishan, a leader of the first echelon, was injured by Yi Junline's sword. How could they be spared at their level? Chapter 752. Are there any more experts? Don't worry, it's your turn next. Yi Junline dodged away and slashed out with all his strength. With a broken arm, Lu Bai's fighting strength was greatly reduced, and his Taoist heart was almost broken. Facing Yi Junline's sword, he felt invincible. What kind of monster are you? Before he died, Lu Bai murmured with a sad face. Poof, he was split in half by a sword, and he couldn't die anymore. Oster was so frightened that Lu Bai was a powerful enemy he had fought before, but he was killed by a sword. This undoubtedly brought a huge psychological impact to him, so much so that he almost lost his fighting spirit. Titan body. In desperation, Oster burned his own life and transformed into a super giant, with his head almost extending to the outer starry sky. You can imagine how huge his body is. He was about to hit Yi Junline with his fist, but Yi Junline turned into an ultimate eternal sword light and struck, breaking through his physical defense and penetrating into his body. Ah! Save me, ancestor, save me! Oster let out a scream of pain and looked at the vast starry sky with despairing eyes, seemingly calling for help from his ancestors far away in the Titan realm. After a while, the sword light came out, and it was Yi Junline's figure. In an instant, Oster's figure reduced to normal size, his pupils lost focus, and he fell down forever. There was a blood hole in his chest, and blue blood gurgled out. Who would have thought? Only a short time had passed before the situation was completely reversed. Shu Beishan's pupils trembled violently, his body was filled with coldness, and a strong feeling of powerlessness emerged in his heart. Now, he is the only one left, how can we fight? The gap in strength is really huge. Emperor Yi Tian is invincible. After a long silence, the Kunlun world suddenly boiled like a sea, and countless creatures shouted with excitement. Especially in Tiandi City, City Lord Li Qingshan and the others all had tears in their eyes, respecting Yi Junline as if they were worshipping gods. The grievances I suffered during this period were all gone at this moment, and there was only endless pride and pride. You foreigners, take a good look, this is the strength of our Lord of Heaven. On the other side, the monks from outside the realm were silent, their throats were struggling to swallow, and their hearts were trembling. 6 of the top 10 geniuses on the supreme list were killed in the blink of an eye. A perfect interpretation of what it means to be invincible. All the monks in the heaven felt inspired and excited. So cool, so cool. Haha, my master is invincible. Li Wuji said excitedly, as if he had found the familiar feeling again. Empress Fuyao was moved, and sighed with complicated emotions. Fellow Taoist Yi's strength has improved a lot. Sure enough, lying down and showing off is all fake, but working quietly behind the scenes to improve your strength is real. According to Empress Fuyao's brain circuit, Yi Junline's bad behavior during this period was all a deliberately created illusion. In fact, no one knows how hard he worked behind the scenes. It is precisely because of this that we can gain a strong strength. Yes, that's definitely the case. If Yi Junline knew what she was thinking, the expression on her face would be amazing. What the hell is practicing hard in secret? Do I still need to practice hard? Isn't this insulting? What Yi Junline resists the most in his life is the kind of bad behavior that appears to be a show-off, but is actually secretly involved behind the scenes. Because there were too many of these things in Blue Star in his previous life. Seriously disrupted the normal living environment. Therefore, Yi Junline, who has been resurrected, is determined not to get involved and will just die. If you have the cultivation level, you will rub it, if you don't, you will pull it down. The main thing is to do whatever you want. At this time, isolated and helpless, Shu Beishan only felt weak and helpless. He even had some doubts that the 3 coming later would not be able to defeat the monster in front of him. Emperor Yi Tian, you are finished. You have killed the 6 geniuses on the supreme list in a row. You have completely angered the forces behind them. I believe that a powerful person from the Saint Ancestor realm will take action soon to kill you. Shu Beishan said fiercely, this is not a threat, it is a fact. In fact, the fights between the top 10 geniuses on their supreme list are all done by default and will never endanger their lives. The reason is very simple, that is, behind each of them, they represent a big world, with mutual interests and intricate relationships. Jay-Z is the face of this world, a super genius cultivated by gathering countless resources. If he is killed if they do, they will definitely form a grudge and attract the revenge of the Saint Ancestor Realm powerful person behind them. Therefore, due to this relationship, both sides are measured in their attacks. They can maim him, but they cannot kill him. Once the body dies, its nature changes. Behind the scenes, it will evolve into a battle between the two worlds. However, Yi Junlin killed 6 worlds in one go, which was equivalent to offending 6 top worlds at the same time. The nature of this matter is extremely serious. Who knows? Yi Junlin's eyes lit up. Is there such a good thing? If someone from the Saint Ancestor Realm comes to visit, wouldn't he be able to make another wave of cultivation? In that case, let me add you. Yi Junlin smiled, raised his sword and flew forward to stab. The eternal sword light burst out, shattering the void. You crazy person. Shu Baishan's scalp almost exploded and he was so frightened that he had already said this, but the other party still dared to do it. At this moment, he regretted extremely. He had known better than to come to this ghost place, and now his own life was at stake. Okay, you forced me to do it. God destroys. In desperation, Shu Baishan unleashed the greatest power of the God's Eye, but the price was that the God's Eye was almost scrapped. For him, who was born in the God's Eye clan, this was no different from suicide, but in this situation, Shu Baishan had to make a final struggle and try to perish with Yi Junlin. Buzz buzz buzz. A vast energy wave burst out from the vertical eye between the eyebrows, and the brilliant and boundless light enveloped all directions. Wherever it went, the void collapsed and turned into nothingness. Let's die together, Shu Baishan said hysterically. Huh, Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. This power actually made him feel a little sense of crisis. But it's not a big problem. Boom boom boom. The impact of the explosion shook the entire Kunlun realm, shocking countless people. The boundless light ball was shattered in an instant, as if it was ended by some absolute power, and everything was settled. Above the sky, stood a silver-haired figure holding a sword. Apart from this, there was no one else. The son of the upper world, dead. Suddenly, the 5 domains were boiling like the sea, cheering and rejoicing. Witnessing this scene, a group of cultivators from outside the domain were almost scared to death. Killing 7 worlds with a sword by himself, this is an unprecedented and shocking act. This is not only powerful, but also a complete madman. It's over. After doing all this, Yi Junlin breathed a sigh of relief. Don't look at him as if it's easy. In fact, he went all out for every sword, without any reservation. Especially the last beheading of Shu Baishan, which brought the greatest consumption. If he didn't have the eternal sword heart to rely on, it would be impossible to win by crushing, and it would definitely be a difficult battle. After all, the Imperial Sacred Intention is basically possessed by the geniuses on the Supreme List, which is a threshold. To win, you must have a greater advantage. Just when Yi Junlin was about to rest, suddenly 3 powerful auras descended from outside the domain, and a terrifying sense of oppression enveloped the entire world. The originally boiling Kunlun realm was instantly silent. This aura, could it be the 3 strongest Tianzhao on the Supreme List? An outsider felt that even his soul was trembling, and murmured. It's them, they are coming. Someone exclaimed. That's right, the visitors are the 3 strongest Tianzhao on the Supreme List, representing the Wuxi realm, the Xishan realm, and the Guangming realm respectively. Unlike the other 7 realms in front, each of them is a unique strong man in the Saint King realm. What does it mean? It means the existence above the first echelon, so strong that it is unique. Are there any more masters? Yi Junlin's eyes sank, and his expression showed a little solemnity. He realized that the real battle has just begun. Chapter 753 Legendary Experience. Is this the Kunlun realm? The cold voice was indifferent and ethereal. The speaker was a Taoist-robed young man with a Taoist bun, sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes, a handsome face, and a reddish brow. He had his hands behind his back and a vase of chaos on his head. He is Dao Wuan, the most powerful genius of the younger generation of the Dao clan. In the heavenly court, Shang Jiba exclaimed in shock. How powerful, Lu Wangshu said solemnly. This person is the first of the top 10 geniuses on the Supreme List. Shang Jiba suppressed the trembling in his heart and said word by word. Hearing this, Lu Wangshu and the others didn't know how serious they were. I see. No wonder this young man in Taoist robes felt that he was not on the same level as those in front of him as soon as he came out. It seems that there was a big battle here. At this time, Dao Wuan noticed something and made a secret with one hand, as if he was deducing what happened in the past. When he saw Shu Baishan and others were killed by Yi Junlin, the expression on his face obviously changed. Emperor Yi Tian, you actually killed them all. Do you know that you have caused a big disaster? His eyes fell on Yi Junlin and he said coldly. Even Dao Wuan must take into account the interests behind this and cannot kill them all, even if he can easily kill these 7 people, including Xu Beishan. The top 10 worlds are deeply involved, and there is often room for maneuver. Otherwise, once the relationship breaks down, the impact will be bad. Therefore, Dao Wuan was a little surprised at Yi Junlin's bold behavior. Yi Junlin looked directly at the young man in Taoist robes and sneered, "They want to kill me, but I can't kill them. What kind of bullshit logic?" As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the monks from outside the domain changed drastically. It was the first time that they had ever dared to talk to the Taoist disciple of the Dao clan in such a tone. Dao Wuan stared at Yi Junlin for a long time and uttered 2 words coldly, seeking death. He didn't think that Yi Junlin's ability to kill the 7 realms was a very powerful act, because if it were him, he could still do it easily. Yi Junlin's attitude deeply offended him, so Dao Wuan naturally had no reason not to take action. Anyway, if the Dao clan wants to occupy the Kunlun realm, the other party is also a big threat. At this time, a Buddha chant sounded. Amitabha. The sound is like a big bell, reverberating between heaven and earth in Kunlun realm. The person who spoke was a young monk with fair appearance, wearing a brocade cassock, a lotus-shaped Buddha crown on his head, a solemn appearance, holding a golden 9-ring tin staff, and an ancient face. He stared at Yi Junlin, his eyes flashing meaningfully. "Donor Yi, do you still remember the poor monk?" Yi Junlin was stunned, and then stared at the other person's face, suddenly feeling a little familiar, but having no clear impression. "I couldn't help but ask, who are you?" "Haha, the poor monk is now a disciple of the Western Heaven Realm, but there is another Zen name that all Taoist friends in the immortal world are familiar with before, and that is Sakyamuni Sakyamuni. This young-looking Jay-Z from the Western Heaven Realm has a profound meaning." "What? He is the holy monk Sakyamuni." There was a sensation in heaven. Sakyamuni was a Buddhist leader in the former immortal world and had the supreme title of Buddha Emperor. Later, when the immortal world was promoted to the holy world and faced a great disaster, the holy monk Sakyamuni left secretly and was never heard from again. Unexpectedly, after many years, the other party suddenly changed and became the world leader of the Western Heaven Realm. One of the 3 geniuses on the supreme list. This is too dramatic. Moreover, compared with his old appearance before, the other party now looks like a young man, which is why no one recognized him at first. Even if it was Yi Junlin, he couldn't help but be a little surprised after learning this. "You old boy, how can you do so well?" Of course he was no stranger to Sakyamuni. The other party once surrendered his Mount Akun, but even after he was found out, he refused to admit it. He only admitted his mistake after being severely beaten by him. Later, the holy world encountered a catastrophe, and the holy monk Sakyamuni ran away during that period, which made Yi Junlin disgusted and despised. Unexpectedly, when they met again, this person's identity changed drastically, and he turned out to be the Jay-Z of the Western Heaven Realm. The Western Heaven Realm is the 2nd largest world in Shenting. The race represented is the Buddhist tribe and they practice Zen. Being able to become a world leader in this world is an extremely noble position. That's good, that's good. You're all right, said the holy monk Sakyamuni, who was very satisfied with the reaction of this group of people. Even he felt very dreamy about his legendary experience. He was just a true saint at that time. Although he had extraordinary qualifications and a natural understanding of Zen, the span in between to become a world leader in the Western Heaven Realm in these years was extremely huge. The biggest turning point for being able to do this is that this Buddhist disciple made a mistake in practicing the supreme Dharma and turned into a demon. The Lord Buddha was so angry that he took action to suppress him, so he had to eliminate the demonic nature of the Buddhist disciple. But in this way the consequence is that the spirit and soul are destroyed and reduced to an empty shell. It happened that Sakyamuni performed best and was the most promising candidate to become the next Buddha. After careful consideration and weighing the pros and cons, the Lord Buddha decided to help Sakyamuni seize the body and take charge of the body of this Buddha. In this way, with the help of Lord Buddha, Sakyamuni successfully completed the transitional stage and transformed into a disciple of Buddha. With his superb understanding of Buddhism, the holy monk Sakyamuni learned the lessons and continued to understand the supreme Buddhism, and finally achieved greater achievements than the previous Buddhist disciple. Later, the holy monk Sakyamuni was ordered to represent the Western Heaven Realm and participate in the competition for the position of the young master of Shenting. When seeing the familiar enemy, the heart of the Sakya saint monk was filled with emotion, and there was a long-hidden murderous intent. At this moment, another cold voice sounded, "Emperor Yi Tian, return my brother's life." It was a handsome blonde youth with a golden halo on his head, carrying flawless white wings, like an archangel, and now he was questioning Yi Junlin. Yi Junlin was even more confused. No, who the hell are you? Stop, talk with evidence, don't frame me for no reason, when did I kill your brother? Yi Junlin said dissatisfiedly. The blonde youth sneered. My brother Satu Yan once came to Kunlun realm to perform a mission and was later killed by you. I have always remembered this hatred, do you still want to deny it? He is Satu Yan's brother, Satu Kong. It seems that I have some impression. Yi Junlin frowned, as if he was trying his best to recall the past. Vaguely, he seemed to remember that there was indeed such a person, but it had been so long that he had forgotten it a little. So he is your brother, and then what? Yi Junlin pretended to be surprised. Boom! A powerful momentum burst out, sweeping across the world. Satu Kong's inner anger surged all at once, and this move was tantamount to a serious provocation to him. With a murderous look on his face, he said coldly, then, I want you to pay with your life. Chapter 754, Battle Against the Three Great Geniuses. The atmosphere suddenly became tense, and it was on the verge of a war. The world of Kunlun is deathly silent, and countless creatures are terrified. The expressions of the other monks from outside the territory are weird. He can offend the three top geniuses on the supreme list to death at the same time. This person must be too defiant. Holy light sanctions. Satu Kong made a seal with one hand and shouted violently. The surging holy power of light is released, and it seems to be able to purify all filthy things. Around Yi Junlin, billions of holy swords of light suddenly condensed, and the sword tips were all pointed at him, filled with vast aura fluctuations. Ding! It is detected that the host is attacked by enemies at the 9th level of the Holy King. Now it triggers the passive effect of becoming stronger when encountering strong ones, and obtains the cultivation level of the Holy King at the 10th level. Close black lens bracket. The next second, Yi Junlin's cultivation level improved again, reaching the level of the great perfection of the Holy King realm. Break it for me. Holding the human emperor's sword high above his head, the sword body burst out with bright light, spreading around like a tide. Boom boom boom. In an instant, billions of bright holy swords were shattered one after another. Satu Kong was shocked and was surprised by Yi Junlin's cultivation. Yi Junlin felt the abundant power in his body and smiled playfully. Don't worry, I will reunite you with your brother. Hearing this, Satu Kong became furious and shouted, I'll kill you. He made secrets with his hands, as if he was performing some kind of secret technique. Soon, his whole body was filled with a layer of sacred radiance, and the wings flapping on his back turned golden yellow, as if the legendary god of light had come in person. Countless people's eyes were mesmerized, and a feeling of surrender even emerged in their hearts. Haha, it's quite a bit of a posture. Yi Junlin's eyes flickered and he looked at it with interest. He was in good condition as he had reached the 10th level of the Holy King and was not afraid of Satu Kong's strong attacks. He even felt that the other party was just here to give him some fun. Seal of Light. Satu Kong used all his strength to sacrifice a golden holy seal with infinite power, giving people the illusion that it could smash a holy world. Oh, Yi Junlin stabbed with his sword without hesitation. The eternal sword light penetrated the 9 heavens in 10 places, shattering the holy seal of light in one fell swoop. You know, if this holy seal of light hits, all Shubation and the others in front of them will be defeated. After all, this was Satu Kong's top killer move when he was at his peak. However, Yi Junlin just thrust out his sword and neutralized the move. Seeing this, Satu Kong's expression froze, and he realized that he still underestimated the opponent's strength. Could it be that because the other party hid his cultivation and released false news, he was really sure of destroying all external enemies? Satu Kong was extremely frightened when he thought about it carefully, and felt a slight chill on his back. Just as Yi Junlin was holding his sword and about to continue attacking, a familiar Buddhist chant sounded in his ears. Amitabha, Donor Yi, please stop being cruel. The holy monk Sakyamuni had a solemn face, raised his hand and slapped a Buddha palm. The big golden palm was spread all over the scriptures, shining brightly, and the momentum was majestic. Boom boom boom. Yi Junlin held his sword to resist, with a strange look on his face. Just with this move, he could feel that the opponent's strength was very strong. Compared to the previous time, it was like a world away. Donor Yi, today you must be saved by a poor monk, and your sins will be washed away in the Buddhist sect from now on. Sakyamuni is full of energy, and there is an indescribable and mysterious Zen charm in his body. That is the Bodhi Buddha heart. How rare is Bodhikata? The status is equivalent to Yi Junlin's eternal sword heart. However, the Bodhi Buddha heart of Sakyamuni is not a complete Bodhi Buddha heart, but only a prototype. Don't underestimate this embryonic form of Bodhi Buddha's mind. Even the previous Buddha could not do something, but the holy monk Sakyamuni did it after taking over his body. Given time, he may not be able to condense the complete Bodhi Buddha heart. By then, he will be fully qualified to become the Buddha Lord, rule the Buddha clan, and take charge of the Western Heaven realm. The great Buddha Dharma, Sakyamuni shouted in a deep voice. Boom, it's like a Buddhist bell ringing slowly. Behind him appeared a huge Buddha statue sitting cross-legged on the lotus platform, with lowered eyebrows and lowered eyes, showing compassion for heaven and earth, with his hands clasped together, and the Buddha's light shining all over his body shines through the ages, reflecting the long river of time. 10,000 Buddhas Chaozong. Immediately afterwards, the holy monk Sakyamuni displayed this great magical power of Buddhism. This was also his most familiar move, which had reached the level of perfection. Suddenly, Yi Junlin only felt that the pressure doubled. Within sight, the Buddha statue moved and slapped a palm towards him. This palm could obliterate the vast galaxy and destroy countless planets. Even so, Yi Junlin still didn't panic, holding the human emperor sword and slashing out with all his strength, even the avenue was cut off. Boom, the two erupted into shocking fluctuations, and the aftermath caused the 5 major realms to tremble. Countless creatures fled and trembled in fear. Sakyamuni shook his body, and retreated more than 10 feet abruptly. The energy and blood in his body surged wildly, and he felt very uncomfortable. When he raised his eyes again, his eyes showed an extremely surprised look. In this case, there is nothing you can do to the other party. At this moment, he had a new assessment of Yi Junlin's strength. Yi Junlin didn't even move, but there was a strange look on his face. They were really stronger than the other. He secretly said in his heart. Not to mention, this old bald ass does have a few brushes. Although the holy monk Sakyamuni possesses the rudiment of the Bodhi Buddha heart, he possesses the complete eternal sword heart. It is obvious which one is stronger and which one is weaker. Suddenly, Yi Junlin felt a warning sign in his heart and turned to look. An even more powerful aura rose to the sky. It was Dao Wuan, the leader of the supreme ranking. At this moment, Dao Wuan was surrounded by the strange images of 3,000 great ways, as if the Taoist ancestor had descended. His eyes were neither sad nor happy. He stared at Yi Junlin and said coldly, "I'll take your life." Yi Junlin chuckled and said, "It depends on whether you have the ability to do it." Swish! Dao Wuan raised his hand and made a gesture, shooting out a ball of light with 5 colors of light, filled with the majestic power of the 5 elements. This is the attribute power of gold, wood, water, fire and earth. He has cultivated each of them to the level of great perfection, and can even create a new world. To a certain extent, it has a certain degree of creation power. He and Yi Junlin have similar cultivation levels, both of them are in the 10th level of the Holy King realm. This has led to a further narrowing of the gap between him and Yi Junlin, which is far more advantageous than the Sakyamuni Saint Monk and Satu Kong. Chila, Yi Junlin snorted coldly, raised his sword and stabbed it, bombarding the 5 elements light ball, shaking out a vast energy breath. The sound of wind and thunder was deafening, and the sky and earth were bright and dark. The power of the 5 elements was strangled by him in an instant, and it was extremely powerful. Dao Wuan seemed to have expected it, and was not surprised, and then continued to attack. In an instant, Yi Junlin felt the air around him tighten, as if he had fallen into an overlapping space trap, and everything around him was collapsing and turning into nothingness. Space collapse. Dao Wuan's method was even more sophisticated. Not only did he trap Yi Junlin in the space trap, he also wanted to completely destroy him in it. This scene made the Sakya Saint Monk and Satu Kong feel awe-inspiring, and a chill on their backs. If they were trapped in it, it would be difficult to get out. Haha, interesting. Yi Junlin was not panicked, and was fearless in the space trap, even if this space was about to collapse and be destroyed. Soon, you won't be able to laugh anymore. Dao Wuan looked indifferent, trying his best to seal the space trap so that Yi Junlin could not escape. He possessed a rare space holy body and had a super high understanding of the way of space. Now he had already cultivated to the perfect level, which was rare in the history of the Dao clan. Even ordinary Saint Ancestor Realm Masters would be at risk of falling into the space trap he carefully prepared. Therefore, Dao Wuan believed that if this trick was used, any Saint King would die in it. Boom! Soon, the space trap collapsed completely and turned into nothingness. Seeing this, Dao Wuan raised a subtle arc at the corner of his mouth. Suddenly he noticed something, and the smile froze on his face. His eyes were a little unbelievable. This. In the turbulent space, a silver-haired young man stepped out calmly. His body was unharmed, and a playful smile hung on the corner of his mouth. Yi Junlin said with a tut, "Your trick doesn't work on me." The reason why he could escape easily was thanks to the magical power of Zhengli Weiying. As long as he got stuck at the moment when the space was completely destroyed, he would directly enter the state of nothingness so that he could escape unscathed. But for Dao Wuan, who didn't know the inside story, this phenomenon was simply incredible. At this time, he officially realized how difficult the problem was. "I don't believe it. You can be safe and sound every time." Dao Wuan was angry and continued to use the magical power of space. Buzz buzz buzz. Yi Junlin fell into the trap of multiple spaces again. This time he had to face the forced intersection of countless spaces, just like fish on a chopping board to be slaughtered at will. "I'll see how you can dodge this time." Dao Wuan calmed down and shouted coldly. As the saying goes, time is respected and space is king. As the most orthodox descendant of space, he is definitely a top-notch strongman in a unique class. It is normal for him to cross the border and kill the ancestor. Therefore, Dao Wuan didn't believe that even with his most proficient space magic, he couldn't do anything to Yi Junlin. Result: he was slapped in the face by the scene in front of him again. Yi Junlin easily escaped from the multiple space traps, just like a wild goose flying out lightly. It felt like passing through a bush of flowers without getting a single leaf on him. How is this possible? Dao Wuan was struck by lightning and almost screamed. What a joke! The space way that he was most proud of didn't work on this man at all. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumb speed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail, 300 by 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 by 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 755 The Princess Appears. The successive defeats made Dao Wuan doubt his life. His mentality had never been hit like this before. In fact, Yi Junlin was not as relaxed as he appeared. The reason why he was able to escape from the multiple space traps was because he continuously used the skill of upright shadowlessness during this period and relied on the virtual state to force through it. But it brings a lot of consumption to oneself. After all, this was originally a trump card skill used to save lives. Fortunately, now that his cultivation is the Holy King Dzogchen, the holy power in his body is more abundant, so he can use it continuously. Otherwise, before using it twice, it was enough to choke. How could it be used dozens of times in a row like now? Poor Dao Wuan met his nemesis here. If it were other top holy kings, they would have died in his space trap long ago. Sakyamuni and Satu Kong's scalps were numb. They did not expect Dao Wuan to be so strong, but what they did not expect was that Yi Junlin was so evil that he could repeatedly break through the space blockade and escape like a fish in water. There is nothing we can do. Yi Junlin held up his sword and attacked Dao Wuan with great force. He felt that this person was the biggest threat, and it would be better to kill him first. Dao Wuan is worthy of being known as the leader of the younger generation. He quickly recovered from the negative emotions and adjusted his condition in time. If that's the case, then I'll use another tactic. Immediately, strong spatial fluctuations were released, and looming spatial fist prints appeared, covering Yi Junlin. Yi Junlin swung his sword in response, and the eternal sword light burst out, forcibly shattering countless space fist seals. Oh, Dao Wuan saw that something was not good, and hurriedly ran through the space to avoid, narrowly avoiding this sword. Oh, he ran away pretty fast. Yi Junlin said with a hint of joking in his tone. Dao Wuan had a sullen face and scolded the other two figures, "Are you watching a show? Why don't you come over and help?" Originally he thought he could handle it on his own, but it turned out that he couldn't. Therefore, he had no choice but to drag the other two people into the water. Amitabha, we have exactly this intention. Sakyamuni also knew that the situation was serious and could not stay out of it, so he quickly launched an offensive against Yi Junlin. Kill. Satu Kong looked gloomy, and he joined the battle as he was ready to go. At this moment, the three top geniuses on the Supreme List joined forces unprecedentedly and launched a fierce attack on Yi Junlin. They took turns performing their moves, forming a siege. The sky was filled with lightning and thunder, and tsunamis and volcanoes erupted. The entire Kunlun realm is trembling, the vast surface is cracking, and sand and dust are billowing. The battle scenes can be described as thrilling and terrifying. I'm lucky enough to be able to see such a big scene in this life. I'll die without any regrets. A strong man from outside the territory said excitedly while holding back his fear. Emperor Yi Tian fights alone against the three geniuses on the supreme list. No matter what the final result is, he is destined to be powerful in the stars and be recorded in history forever. This is a miracle. There are creatures from outside the realm who fear Tao. This is also the common aspiration of strong people from all walks of life. Because Yi Junlin was too strong, so strong that even the three most powerful geniuses in the Shedding world had to join forces to compete with him. Let me ask, what kind of terrifying strength is this? Even if you regrettably fail in the end, this glory will shine for eternity and be worshipped by countless creatures in the universe. Because in the long years to come, no one can match it. Fellow Taoist Yi, please. The atmosphere in the heaven was tense. Empress Fuya was watching this unprecedented battle, but her heart was trembling. She couldn't imagine what Kunlun realm would have done to resist these three terrifying extraterritorial powerhouses without Yi Junlin. Fortunately, everything can still turn around. Boom boom boom. A series of earth-shaking explosions sounded, echoing in the sky above Kunlun realm. Yi Junlin and Dao Wuan and the others started a fierce battle. What was shocking was that even if they were 1 against 3, they would not lose. It seems that the more he fights, the stronger he gets, and there is no upper limit to his strength. It's simply unfathomable, but only Yi Junlin knew that his pressure suddenly increased a lot, and it was not as simple as the one-on-one duel just now. Among them, Dao Wuan played the greatest role because he had a perfect grasp of space, so he could travel through space with ease. He could also create chaos in space and paralyze Yi Junlin's judgment. Situ Kong's power of holy light has a special ability that can cure all negative effects and keep the three of them in peak condition at all times. Sakyamuni focuses on defense, and the Buddhist golden bell he uses can withstand a lot of damage. These three geniuses joined forces, both offensively and defensively, and learned from each other's strengths, which made Yi Junlin feel a lot of pressure for a while. At this moment, the whole world shook violently, and a large formation suddenly rose up, covering Yi Junlin and the others instantly. Countless tadpole-like runes are circulating, and the runes are shining with blazing holy light. The scene is very spectacular. What's going on? Everyone was shocked. This sudden scene shocked all the monks. Yi Junlin and Dao Wuan stopped at the same time, and were very surprised by the sudden appearance of the formation. Obviously, this is for them. What kind of broken formation dares to trap me? Situ Kong was angry, raising his hand to summon a huge bright holy sword and slashing at one side of the formation. A strange scene happened. When the holy sword of light landed heavily on the barrier of the formation, it did not tear a hole as expected. Instead, it was absorbed like nutrients and converted into part of the energy of this formation. What? Situ Kong's eyelids trembled, shocked by this result. The attack just now was enough to kill a top Saint King, but when it landed on this formation, the power was absorbed completely. How could there be such a strange formation in this world? Dao Wuan calmed his mind and said solemnly, this formation not only trapped us, but also blocked all the space channels. It can be said to be perfect. This means that even he can't escape by traveling through space, because he doesn't have this condition at all. Amitabha, which great formation saint intervened in this matter? Could it be that he wants to be our enemy? The Sakya saint monk said with an ugly look. Only the legendary great formation saints can arrange this kind of formation. Each of them is a heavyweight figure, and even the Buddha behind him has to treat him with courtesy. At this time, a great formation saint actually took action and set up a supreme formation to trap them while they were busy with their own affairs. What was the reason? You know, the three of them represent superworlds respectively. Who in the entire divine court dares to provoke them easily? Now, the other party offended them all at once, which made the Sakya saint monk feel puzzled and angry. Yi Junlin was also surprised that there was an unexpected change. The next second, a silver bell-like laughter came, with a sense of success. Hee, you are too careless. You didn't pay close attention to the changes around you. That's why this princess can trap you all. How about it? Is it a surprise? At this time, a petite black-robed figure stepped into the air, followed by a group of black-robed people, completely exposed to the public's view. You are. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. This voice made him feel a little familiar. It seems that he has heard it somewhere before. HMPH, Mr. Yi, you even forgot who this princess is. As he spoke, the black-robed figure at the head lifted his hood, revealing a delicate and cute face like a doll, red eyes sparkling like gems, long eyelashes, small cherry lips, and fair skin that was as soft as a baby's. Her hair was pink and tied into 2 ponytails. With such a face and petite body, she was simply a standard little loli. Yi Junlin stared at her for a long time and said in surprise, "You, what princess are you?" He still had an impression of this woman. She had fought with him in the North Cold Immortaland, and when she escaped, she was hit by his big belly finger. He didn't expect that after many years, they would meet in this way. Rosa said angrily, "What kind of memory do you have? Listen carefully, this princess is the princess of the Asura clan, Rosa." Boom. As soon as this was said, the whole audience was in an uproar. Chapter 756, Reversal of the Situation. She said she is Rosa, the princess of the Asura tribe. I've heard of her. She is known as the brightest pearl of the Asura clan, and is a super genius with dual cultivation of talisman array. It is said that this woman is weird, cruel, and capricious. She is a little witch who is afraid of chaos in the world. She has quite a reputation in Juyu. Damn it, how dare she come here at this juncture? What do you think of us monks from the divine court world? Say less. Didn't you see that as soon as she took action, she trapped Emperor Yitian and the 3 top geniuses on the supreme list? The discussion was boiling. All the monks outside the area felt panicked and uneasy. Logically speaking, as a member of the divine court realm, you must kill the creatures in the 9 nether realm when you encounter them, but at this moment, Rosa's power made them all feel sincerely afraid. How dare you sneak into the Kunlun realm and attack us? Are you, the Shira realm, going to start a war? Satu Kong said in shock and anger. Rosa snorted, "You all can come, why can't I, the princess? There's still a war, who are you trying to scare, a birdman like you? Will my Shira world be afraid of your heavenly world? You." Satu Kong's eyes almost burst out with anger, and he gritted his teeth in anger. The Shira realm is the most powerful realm recognized by Juyu, and the size of the heaven realm is not enough to compete head-on with it. Therefore, his threat is a joke. Dao Wuan said coldly, "I just want to know, is this a willful act on your part, or is it the intention of Juyu's higher-ups? It is important for him to distinguish these 2 points. The former is just nonsense, while the latter is deeply involved." Rosa said angrily, "It has nothing to do with them, it's the princess who wants to do this." Upon hearing this, Dao Wuan's eyes flashed, "Sure enough, it's your personal meaning. Amitabha, this female donor must not make mistakes. As long as you unlock this formation, we can forget the past." Sakyamuni advised earnestly, "After all, the poor monk can see that your enemy is the benefactor named Yi. Why don't we put aside our prejudices and get rid of the big enemy in front of us first?" Rosa sneered and said, "Damn bald donkey, do you think this princess is a 3-year-old child? I finally trapped you all and let you go as soon as I said you would let me go. It is true that I want revenge, but if I can get rid of more, several threats are definitely a great benefit to me, Juyu, and they can also help me, Rosa, become famous throughout my life." Hear the words. Dao Wuan and the others were really angry. They felt that this princess of the Asura tribe was so arrogant that she wanted to kill them all by herself. "Everyone, work together to break this formation first." Satu Kong couldn't bear it anymore, shouted loudly, raised his hand and launched the vast power of light to bombard the barrier of the formation. Buzz buzz. Unexpectedly, this power is like a stream flowing into the sea, completely absorbed by this formation. "Idiot, let's see how this princess treats you." Rosa made a secret with one hand and controlled the formation. Aha! In an instant, the move and formation that Satu Kong had just played were released in another way. What? Satu Kong's expression changed and he had no choice but to respond passively. Boom! He was so shocked that he recoiled, with a very ugly expression on his face, as if he had eaten shit. More than half of the power he had just exerted turned into a formation and attacked him. This meant that the harder he launched a fierce attack, the more he would be hurt by his own power. It's like a double-edged sword, it's simply disgusting. No wonder the Great Formation Saint's status is so transcendent that even the powerful Saint Ancestor realm dare not look down upon him. This makes sense. How is it? Are you stupid? Rosa looked proud. This formation is called the Strange Destruction Mutual Devouring Formation. It is an extremely difficult formation. It can swallow all the power and convert it into the energy to maintain the formation. It can also release more than half of the devoured power to attack the enemy in turn. The trapped person will either be strangled by the formation or killed by his own power. In short, no matter which way, the end will be bleak. Damn it! Satu Cheng was anxious and wanted to continue attacking, but he was worried that his own power would backfire, so he didn't know what to do for a while. No need to worry, we can just take action. Although this formation can swallow our power and convert it into its own energy, everything has its limit. As long as the destructive power reaches a certain level, this formation can be broken. At most it will take a lot of effort in the process. Dao Wuan seemed to see something and said in a deep voice. This statement is simple and crude, but the truth is indeed like this. The almsgiver's words make sense. Sakyamuni's eyes flickered. The current situation could only be solved with this stupid method. After saying that, they mobilized all their strength and blasted towards the barrier of the formation, determined to break it before they would stop. Rosa Chong's nose wrinkled slightly. If this was the case, there was a possibility that her formation would be broken. Fortunately, she just wanted to make a show, muddy the water, and slap Shintingji in the face. Just then, a sudden change occurred within the formation. An astonishing streak of eternal sword light cut through the sky, stabbing Situ Kong at lightning speed. At this time, Situ Kong was still attacking the formation, but he felt a biting chill coming from his back. He was so frightened and angry that he quickly turned around to resist and roared, "Emperor Yi Tian, you are crazy." Because he was distracted, he was not fully prepared to resist the sword. The terrifying eternal sword light shattered Situ Kong's body in an instant, and Situ Kong screamed in despair, "I hate it." Immediately, the corpse turned into a ball of blood mist and dissipated. Situ Kong, the son of the world of heaven, died. This unexpected scene shocked everyone. Rosa opened her mouth, her beautiful eyes unable to conceal a look of surprise. She originally thought that Yi Junlin would temporarily put aside his prejudices and join forces with 3 other opponents to break her formation. As a result, he took the opportunity to backstab and kill one of the opponents. Dao Wuan was stunned on the spot, and then asked with a mix of shock and anger, "Yi, can't you see the situation clearly? Now that there is one less person, there is less power to break the formation. What do you think?" He originally thought that Yi Junlin knew how to distinguish priorities and would join forces with them first to break the formation and resolve the conflicts between them. Unexpectedly, the opponent took the opportunity to kill Situ Kong. Without Situ Kong's power, it would be more difficult to break the formation. Yi Junlin had a playful smile on his lips. "Have I ever said that I want to cooperate with you? It's obviously your own initiative. Besides, it's more cost-effective to get rid of you than to cooperate." The formation that Rosa arranged was certainly tricky, but he had his own clever way to deal with it, so cooperation was not at all on his radar. If you can take the opportunity to kill a powerful enemy at this juncture, why not do it? Now that Situ Kong is dead, the resistance has dropped sharply, and Yi Junlin is more confident in dealing with the remaining 2 people. Chapter 757 Time Kills the Genius. Hearing Yi Junlin's outrageous speech, Dao Wuan was so angry that he almost vomited blood and his whole body was shaking. "You really deserve to die." The tone was murderous and contained endless anger. Dao Wuan had no choice but to give up the offensive formation and go all out to attack Yi Junlin. He knew that if he didn't get rid of him, he would die here first. Sakyamuni also knew the seriousness of the matter and quickly joined forces with Dao Wuan to kill him. A fight broke out between the 3. Seeing this scene, Rosa clapped her hands excitedly. "Well done, those named Yi, hurry up and deal with them. I will help you." Although Rosa didn't quite understand why Yi Junlin did this, because if it were her, she would have made a truce first. But now that things have reached this point, she doesn't mind adding fuel to the fire. Immediately, Rosa manipulated the formation to interfere and launched a sneak attack on Dao Wuan and Sakyamuni to interfere with their performance. Boom boom boom, the inner part of the formation exploded continuously, and countless rays of light were colorful. From them, 3 crisscrossing figures could be vaguely seen. "Emperor Yi Tian, you are a traitor to the divine court world. You actually colluded with the princess of the Asura tribe." Dao Wuan felt very uncomfortable. Yi Junlin had already given him a lot of headaches, and now with the addition of a princess from the Asura tribe, he was almost in a passive position. In anger, he had no choice but to slander Yi Junlin. "Haha, whatever you say," Yi Junlin said jokingly with a smile. He really had to thank Rosa, a scheming little loli, for breaking the stalemate and turning the tide of the battle. Otherwise, it would not be easy for him alone to defeat Dao Wuan and the others. It is no exaggeration to say that Rosa is the biggest variable. Soon, blood started to flow from the corners of Sakyamuni monk's mouth. He was retreating steadily, and the Buddhist utensils in his hands were all broken into pieces. The formation's attacks from time to time, coupled with Yi Junlin's attacks, made his mentality even more explosive, and he hated Rosa who was behind the scenes. "Old bald donkey, I once made a promise to myself, if you fall into my hands again one day, I will make sure you die without a burial place." Now, it's time to fulfill your promise. Yi Junlin attacked Sakyamuni with overwhelming force. The tip of his sword approached crazily, and the sword's brilliance was dazzling. Seeing this situation, Sakyamuni's heart was filled with a haze of death, and he felt that his end was approaching. Recalling all the previous experiences, he definitely didn't want to die like this. After all, he was now a Buddhist son of the Buddhist clan, and he would have the opportunity to succeed as the Buddha Lord in the future, with a bright future. Therefore, the unwilling Sakyamuni decided to make a desperate move. The kingdom of Buddha is in the palm of your hand. Sakyamuni raised his hand and shouted. Rumble. In a moment, a vast golden hand appeared, holding up a vast Buddhist kingdom. The Buddha contained the universe, and there were hundreds of millions of monks chanting sutras and meditating. The sound of chanting sutras coming from the Buddhist kingdom gave countless monks a sudden strong desire to convert to Buddhism. There is no doubt about it. This is one of the top magical powers of Buddhism, and it is also the enduring heritage of the Buddhist clan. Plus me. Dao Wuan was completely willing to fight, even if he risked his own life, he still wanted to kill the silver-haired young man in front of him. In an instant, the aura on his body rose horribly, and an irresistible vast force gathered in his fist, revealing some ancient and mysterious Taoist charm. Sacrifice. Dao. Fist. A loud shout. Dao Wuan unleashed his most powerful killing move. Dao Sacrifice Fist, as the name suggests, requires sacrificing one's own Dao in exchange for a powerful force. It is a typical move that kills 1,000 enemies and damages 800. But the power is very terrifying. Once a person of Dao Wuan's level chooses to sacrifice his own Dao, one can imagine how terrifying power he will gain in exchange. This punch is enough to kill the slightly stronger Saint Ancestor realm. Okay, if you turn it up, I'll turn it up too. Seeing that the time was right, Yi Junlin sacrificed the Heavenly Emperor's Dharma, and his aura instantly surged. At the same time, the phantom figure behind him also had a long sword as thin as a cicada's wings in his hand. Every stage of the Heavenly Emperor's Dharma appearance can unlock a new move. Now that Yi Junlin is at the 10th level of the Saint King realm, he can naturally unlock a new move. This move happens to be related to swords. Year's Slash. A clear drink. Yi Junlin swung his sword very cleanly, and the Emperor of Heaven behind him was also doing the same action. In a daze, an illusion arose in people's hearts. The silver-haired young man and the majestic shadow behind him gradually overlapped. Swish, swish, swish. Blades like autumn water streaked across the sky, carrying the power of erosion over time. The Buddha Kingdom and Ji Dao Fist in the palm met with huge resistance and were unable to cause devastating damage to Yi Junlin for a while. This is not the most critical thing. The key is that Yi Junlin's time slash has the power of time that is hard to guard against every time it is used. It can significantly reduce the target's lifespan invisibly. In this way, the lifespan of Sakyamuni and Dao Wuan was repeatedly reduced, and their appearance gradually changed from the appearance of young people to middle-aged people, and even evolved into the image of old people. To know, the lifespans of experts who have reached their level started out to be tens of billions of years, but now they are being reduced crazily, and their lifespans are being lost like water, never to come back. Let me ask, who is not afraid of this kind of change? This is the power of time. This is the power of time. Dao Wuan, whose hair was all white and whose face was aging, like an old man in his dying years, lost his voice in horror. Time is respected and space is king. Compared with the power of space, the power of controlling time is more fascinating. Now, every time Yi Junlin swings his sword, he can invisibly accelerate his aging and cut off a large amount of his lifespan. This is already the initial use of the power of time. This method is impossible to guard against. Even Dao Wuan felt powerless for this and could only watch his precious lifespan being continuously reduced, and he also changed from a heroic young man to a twilight old man. Emperor Yi Tian, have mercy on me. The Sakyamuni monk with white eyebrows and a withered appearance felt extremely panic and despair in his heart. In desperation, he begged for mercy regardless of his identity. If this continues, he will really die. Yi Junlin sneered. I had known this, why did I do it in the first place? It's you who narrowed the road. You can't blame anyone. Then, he frantically consumed his power and repeatedly used the time slash, forcibly cutting off the longevity of Dao Wuan and Sakyamuni monk. Dao Wuan and Sakyamuni, whose vitality and blood had declined, were no longer able to maintain the operation of their moves. At this moment, these two people have turned into old men exuding a rotten atmosphere, and are about to lose any vitality. Die. Yi Junline's eyes were cold as he swung his last sword, and his clear and iron voice echoed in every corner of Kunlun realm. No. Dao Wuan and holy monk Sakyamuni cried out sadly. The next second their bodies trembled, the weak vitality in their bodies was taken away, and their eyes became empty. The two old bodies disappeared in the air like wind and sand, turning into nothingness bit by bit. There was total silence between heaven and earth. The faces of the monks were dull and their heads were buzzing. Who would have thought that the 10 most talented people on the Supreme List, who have attracted much attention, would all die at the hands of one person today? Emperor Yi Tian, he was slaughtered. Among them, an outsider's scalp was numb and he trembled. Chapter 758. A familiar scene is staged again. Slaughter the list. What a strange word. For a long time, the Supreme List of the Divine Court has brought together the top 10 most valuable geniuses of each era. Each of them has a promising future. If nothing unexpected happens, they will all be supreme figures in the universe in the future. These 10 geniuses are like 10 insurmountable mountains, pressing down on the heads of countless young cultivators in the Divine Court. However, now they have been slaughtered by a young man, and none of the top 10 geniuses on the Supreme List have been left alive. This is a real slaughter of the list. The initiator is the Lord of the Heavenly Court, Yi Tiandi. After a long silence between heaven and earth, I don't know who raised his arms and shouted first, and then more and more people shouted excitedly. Like a tsunami, it shook the 5 domains and resounded in every corner of Kunlun realm. Emperor Yi, Emperor Yi, Emperor Yi. At this moment, billions of creatures on earth bowed down and worshipped, their faces full of infinite enthusiasm, like devout believers, and regarded the silver-haired figure as the only true God. So strong, is this the true strength of the Emperor of Heaven? Everyone in the heavenly court bowed and said in awe. Shang Jiba's scalp numbed, and the shock in his heart could not be described in words. He once naively thought that Yi Junline was qualified to be among the top 10 geniuses on the Supreme List. But now he found that he was wrong. Not only is he qualified to enter this list, he even has the strength to dominate the list. You know, everyone on the Supreme List was unattainable in his eyes before. Especially Dao Wuan, who is known as the leader of the geniuses, has the reputation of being invincible in the younger generation. As a result, this kind of demon with a top appearance was killed just now. This really gave him a huge shock. By the way, is it really okay to do this? Shang Jiba was trembling with fear, always feeling that this move would lead to more terrible revenge. If this happened in the Holy Martial Realm, even his master Panlong Wusheng would have to die to apologize, because he was simply unable to bear the raging anger of the 10 worlds of the Divine Court. After all, the Holy Martial Realm only has one Saint Ancestor Realm, but the 10 worlds of the Divine Court have had an extremely deep foundation since ancient times, and each world has many Saint Ancestor Realms sitting in charge, which is not comparable to a mere Holy Martial Realm. If this happened in the Holy Martial Realm, the Holy Martial Realm would be bloodbathed the next day and turned into a dead star. This is why Shang Jiba is so uneasy. On the other side, Rosa was shocked, because the extraordinary means that Yi Junline had just shown were something she had never seen before. It was actually possible to cut off other people's lifespans invisibly. What an incredible ability. As a result, Rosa was a little scared, and quickly hid behind a group of dead soldiers, shouting, "Hey, Mr. Yi, don't think that this is the end, you are still in the formation set up by this princess. Her purpose is very simple, that is, to avenge the past, wipe out the previous shame, and regain her face." With this formation, Rosa is still very confident. Yi Junline released the state of the Heavenly Emperor's Dharma image, with a little sweat on his forehead, and a long sigh of relief. The move of Time Slash is indeed powerful, but it consumes him a lot when it is used continuously. Thanks to his cultivation, it would be difficult to do this. At this time, hearing Rosa's shouting, Yi Junline's face showed a meaningful smile. The reason why he dared to kill Dao Wuan and the other 3 in advance was because he had a way to deal with this formation. Even if he didn't borrow their power, he could break it by himself. Now, it's time for him to show his skills. Seeing the familiar smile of the other party, Rosa suddenly had an ominous premonition in her heart. In order to be on the safe side, she decided to strike first and use the power of the formation to suppress Yi Junline. HMPH, let's see how this princess will deal with you. Rosa pinched her hands and changed her handprints. Rumble. The formation began to operate rapidly, and countless vortices emerged inside the formation, from which strange green light beams shot out, turning into a light shell to cover Yi Junline. For a while, Yi Junline felt a huge pressure, which was not even worse than that brought by Dao Wuan and others. If it were someone else, you would have subdued it long ago, but it's a pity that you met me. After saying that, Yi Junlin raised his hand and a banner with black smoke appeared, and the purple flag fluttered wildly. At this moment, the outside world didn't know that there were 10 familiar figures in this human emperor banner. They were all the 10 supreme geniuses who died before. After the transformation of the human emperor banner, they have become high-level soul slaves who only know how to obey orders. In Yi Junlin's current state, it is indeed not enough to break the formation, but he can use the power of the human emperor banner to achieve this. This is why Yi Junlin has no scruples and dares to kill Dao Wuan and others in this dangerous situation. Because compared with the living opponents, the dead opponents are more valuable. Break it for me. Yi Junlin held the human emperor banner high above his head and shouted. All the soul slaves in the banner, including the dead Dao Wuan and others, are releasing their own power. With the blessing of the power of the top 10 geniuses on the supreme list, the power of the human emperor banner is undoubtedly increased to an incredible level. In an instant, the emperor banner burst out a huge dark purple light, like a dark purple sun, and expanded wildly inside the formation. Boom 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 boom. Although the strange mutual devouring formation can devour the power of the trapped and transform it into energy to maintain itself, once it far exceeds the limit of endurance, the formation will also be disintegrated. This is equivalent to a balloon. If too much water is injected at one time, the balloon will burst. Crack, crack, crack. Facing the terrifying power released by the Emperor banner, the entire formation was violently shaken by the impact, and cracks began to appear on the surface of the formation, and it seemed that it would soon break apart. This scene really shocked Rosa. Even the ordinary Saint Ancestor realm may not be able to do this. In other words, the power released by Yi Junlin has far exceeded the scope of the Saint King, which is equivalent to a powerful Saint Ancestor realm strongman breaking the formation. Boom! In less than a moment, the formation could no longer bear it and was shattered by the violent force inside. The vast energy filled the world. Ah! Countless people were thrown out and almost fainted. Not good. Rosa knew she was no match for him and planned to use the teleportation talisman to escape. Looking at the little Lolita who was fleeing in a hurry, Yi Junlin smiled playfully. You want to leave so quickly? He reached out and grabbed her. Cover the princess's retreat. A group of dead soldiers shouted, and they rushed forward to stop Yi Junlin. The leader of the dead soldiers was a powerful Saint King, who was at the forefront at this moment, fearless of death. Even if they saw how powerful Yi Junlin was, they dared to throw themselves into the fire. This was the horror of the dead soldiers. Bang, 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 a series of dull sounds rang out, and the group of dead soldiers exploded into blood mist one by one. Yi Junlin's hand pressed towards Rosa, like the five-finger mountain to suppress a stubborn monkey. Go away, don't touch me. Rosa was so scared that she almost peed, and threw all her Saint King-level talismans out at once. In an instant, many terrifying energies burst out, causing Yi Junlin's outstretched hand to pause slightly. Seizing this opportunity, Rosa used the teleportation talisman to teleport to the outer space of billions of miles. Mr. Yi, don't be complacent, this princess will not let you go. Rosa's unwilling voice came from the void. Really? Yi Junlin smiled and stretched out his finger, as if passing through the endless void and locking on Rosa's body. Big belly finger. Then, Rosa's belly bulged rapidly, like a 10-month pregnancy. No. Feeling the familiar changes in her belly, Rosa's forehead overflowed with fine sweat, and her pretty face showed a touch of despair. Thinking back to when she escaped from the Beihan Immortaland, she was also hit by the other party's evil magic, which caused her to become a shame to the Asura clan after she returned. Now, she has made the same mistake again, which makes Rosa's mentality collapse directly. She couldn't imagine how big a public opinion storm she would cause if she returned to the tribe with a big belly again. Yi Junlin, I hate you. At this time, a little loli with twin ponytails wanted to cry but had no tears. She was holding a big belly that could not bear the weight, like an innocent girl abandoned by a scumbag, and complained in grief and anger. Chapter 759 There's nothing wrong with it. Kunlun Realm. Hee hee, a parting gift for you, you're welcome. Yi Junlin smiled playfully. He didn't have the intention to kill Rosa, and she also helped him a lot. It would be best if he could capture her alive, but it didn't matter if he couldn't. Anyway, the other party was hit by his big belly finger. With his current cultivation, it would take at least several decades to subside and return to normal. This is already a very painful price for the proud and face-conscious Asura princess. Yi Junlin even had a vague premonition that maybe one day in the future, the other party would come back to him again. So far, the dust has settled, and a great war has come to an end. The Kunlun realm is boiling like the sea, and everyone is shouting the name of Yi Tiandi. Every cultivator is proud from the bottom of their hearts. That man once again proved himself with absolute strength. Yi Tiandi, invincible. This statement has become the consensus of all Kunlun realm cultivators. It is already known to everyone, no doubt about it. Yi Junlin adjusted his state and returned to the heavenly palace. The eyes of the cultivators in the heavenly palace were full of enthusiasm, and they gathered around to express their respect. Fellow Taoist Yi, you really gave me a big surprise. It seems that even without me, you can still lead the Kunlun realm to glory. The face of the Fuyao Empress was full of emotion, and her tone was a little envious. She was the supreme being of the ancient times, and her vision was naturally very high, but today, seeing what Yi Junlin did, even such a proud her was impressed. She admitted that even if the realm was equal, she was not as powerful as this silver-haired young man. Speaking of which, the Fuyao Empress is really worthy of being a peerless heroine. She has been strong and brave in her life, but she will also admit the strength of others and face her own shortcomings. Yi Junlin smiled. Dao Yu Fuyao, don't belittle yourself. You are as important to Kunlun realm as I am. Moreover, I also know your ability to deal with problems during this period. In a sense, you are more suitable to be the lord of the heavenly court than me. This is true. The affairs of the heavenly court are busy. During the period when Yi Junlin was in charge, he was busy for 3 days and dry the net for 2 days, and basically left it to Lu Wangshu to handle. After it was Fuyao Empress' turn to take charge, these affairs were handled in an orderly manner, showing a very high level of business. Dao Yi, you really promoted me. Fuyao Empress smiled bitterly. She purely regarded Yi Junlin's words as a kind of comfort. She had no desire to be the lord of the heavenly court. She just felt that the competent person should take the position. At the critical moment, there must be a reliable person to take the lead and preside over the overall situation. Now, seeing Yi Junlin regain his glory again, Fuyao Empress felt that she should withdraw. If Yi Junlin knew this idea, he would probably be so depressed that he would vomit blood. Tong Wudi and others had mixed feelings in their hearts. Fortunately, they did not add insult to injury before, otherwise how embarrassing it would be. Report to the Emperor of Heaven, there are still many foreign cultivators stranded in Kunlun realm. Should we take necessary measures? Lu Wangshu said seriously. Yi Junlin's eyes flashed, and he said meaningfully, as an outsider, you have to pay some money to watch such a wonderful show. That makes sense. Lu Wangshu was stunned and said quickly. A strange look appeared on his face, knowing what Yi Junlin meant. Everyone knew it well and tried to hold back their smiles. I'm tired, you can handle the rest by yourselves. Yi Junlin rubbed his eyebrows, and his figure flashed and disappeared from the spot. After experiencing a series of battles, he should have a good rest and recover. Let's send off the Emperor of Heaven. Lu Wangshu and others bowed, and the shouts resounded over the sky of the heavenly court. At the same time, in Tiandi City, the outsiders were still in shock, and they were still immersed in the fact that Yi Junlin had slaughtered the list. They could not imagine how much of a sensation this matter would cause to the universe if it spread out. Everyone, what should we do now? A man swallowed his saliva and asked. What else can we do? Of course, we should leave quickly. Someone's tone was a little nervous and fearful. That's right, leave Kunlun realm. All the outsiders had this idea. They gathered here from afar just to witness the birth of the young master of the divine court, but the top 10 geniuses on the supreme list who participated in the competition were killed without a single one left. What's the point of staying here? It's better to run away quickly, so as not to be involved. Now, the majesty of the heavenly court, even if they have 10,000 courage, dare not offend, because Yi Tiandi, the lord of the heavenly court, is a super giant with strength comparable to the saint ancestor realm. How dare they have the slightest contempt? Hualala. All the powerful people from outside the domain started to run away, not wanting to stay in this place of trouble for a moment longer. Stop right there. A shout. The Yin Emperor led the heavenly court team to stop them, and the golden flags with the word heavenly court fluttered in the wind, which was particularly conspicuous. You, what are you going to do? An old man with the cultivation of the Saint King level said as if he was facing a great enemy. Before, he would definitely not bother to talk nonsense and slap them. Anyway, they were all a group of ants to him. But now, he dared not offend any soldier of the heavenly court. This is the deterrent power brought by Yi Tiandi. At this time, facing the interception of the heavenly court team, the old Saint King's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. He did not dare to neglect it, so he had to bite the bullet and ask. The Yin Emperor put his hands behind his back and said in a high and mighty tone, "You have entered the Kunlun realm without permission, and you should be punished by death, but the Heavenly Emperor is magnanimous and forgives your mistakes. You only need to hand over a certain amount of property before you can leave safely." The powerful men from outside the domain looked at each other, thinking that they were extremely unlucky. This is obviously asking them to pay protection fees. But compared to losing their lives, this is the best result at the moment. Hurry up, what are you doing? Our Heavenly Emperor is watching you from above. Whoever doesn't pay will die. The Yin Emperor threatened viciously. No, we will give it to you right away. The old Saint King and others shuddered with fear. Everything Yi Junlin did was still vivid in their minds, leaving them with an indelible psychological shadow. Now, hearing this, they dared not hesitate at all, and directly took out their accumulated magic weapons, talismans and holy crystals, and handed them over like beans pouring out of a bamboo tube. That's right, the Yin Emperor nodded, with a smug smile on his face. This feeling of taking advantage of someone's power is so damn good. No wonder Go Bully likes to be a lackey so much. He used to use the name of Empress Fuyao to bully others. Now he has also experienced this feeling, which is really wonderful. You know, he is just a true saint, but he can make a group of powerful people from outside the domain who are more powerful than him obey his orders in an orderly manner. Such a wonderful feeling, whoever experiences it will be overwhelmed. It seems that there is nothing wrong with being a younger brother. Yin Emperor said to himself. Chapter 760, The Former Object of Admiration. Time goes back to before the war started. The entire universe is focusing on Kunlun Realm, especially the 10 worlds of Shenting, and regards Kunlun Realm as a big stage, because there, an unprecedented young master of Shenting will be born. And the world behind the young master of Shenting will achieve true transcendence, and his position of ruling the heavens and the worlds in the future will be unshakable. It is a matter of great interest and must be taken seriously. In the vast starry sky, an oversized light curtain appeared, projecting the scene of Tiandi City in Kunlun Realm. The eyes of all races of creatures are focused on this light curtain, as if they want to witness the birth of the young master of Shenting together. Unfortunately, the top 3 of the Supreme List haven't arrived yet. I think they have the greatest chance of winning. Do we need to guess? Of course, Dao Wuan of Wuxi Realm has the best chance. He is known as a rare genius of the Dao clan. It is said that even the Dao Master is full of praise for him. Amitabha, I think the Buddhist son of the Western Heaven Realm is not bad either. It is rumored that he has touched the ultimate realm of Zen meditation, the Bodhi Buddha heart. If they really fight, the Buddhist son of the Western Heaven Realm will also have great hope. HMPH, I am very optimistic about the new world son Satu Kong of the Heaven Realm. He is the descendant of the legendary Holy Body of Light. He defeated the previous world son a while ago and is even more powerful. He is the leader of the younger generation of the Light Clan. There were discussions all over the starry sky, and the topic basically revolved around the top 3 of the Supreme List. After all, these are the 3 strongest Tianzhao in the Divine Court realm, and the other 7 are simply incomparable. On the surface, they are on the same list, but in fact, the gap between them is very large. This led to many creatures thinking that the top 3 on the Supreme List were more qualified to compete for the position of Young Master of the Divine Court. As for the other Tianzhao, they were just here to make up the numbers and serve as a background wall. But there was a group of people who held different opinions. I think Shu Beishan, who ranks 4th, has great potential. I heard that his divine eyes have evolved to a very high level and have many incredible abilities. Yes, in my opinion, he is a dark horse. Such people are often the most likely to create miracles. Oster of the Titan clan is also very powerful. He has pure Titan blood flowing in his body, and his physical defense is even the best in the same realm. I think Lu Bai, the world master of the 10,000 swords realm, should not be underestimated. He is known for breaking all laws with one sword and is the most satisfied disciple of the Lord of 10,000 swords. Although it is not as popular as the top 3 on the Supreme List, there is still a lot of discussion. There is a sense of déjà vu similar to a large-scale star-chasing scene, and the fan groups of each idol are large and small. The giants of the 10 major worlds are always paying attention behind the scenes. This is like a proxy battle, and they, as Saint Ancestor realm powerhouses, are restraining each other behind the scenes. In fact, they know very well that there can only be one young master of the Divine Court, and the other 9 are destined to fail. The higher the ranking, the greater the hope. As for the more, it is to show up on behalf of the world to which they belong and show a certain strength to the outside world. This is the correct answer. Anyway, this kind of fight will stop at a certain point, and generally there will be no death. For Lu Bai, this kid, I don't expect him to win the position of young master. I just hope he can perform better and spread the reputation of my 10,000 Swords realm. After all, my 10,000 Swords realm is also a pilgrimage site for the vast number of sword cultivators. The one who spoke was the Lord of 10,000 Swords. He has already stood at the end of the sword path and is also known as the first sword in the Divine Court realm. Oster, cheer up, don't lose points. In the Titan realm, a one-eyed old man with blue skin, a knotted white beard, and a horn helmet sat on the throne, holding up a wine glass and shouting at the light curtain. He is the ancestor of the Titans, a ruthless man who can blow up thousands of planets with one punch and make the galaxy deviate from its orbit with a breath. My son Situ Kong has the appearance of a young master of the Divine Court. In the Heaven realm, Situ Tien, the patriarch of the Light Clan, slapped his thigh and shouted excitedly. Although he was sad about losing his youngest son, fortunately, his eldest son Situ Kong was very competitive. He had just recovered from his injuries and officially set off for the Kunlun realm. Situ Tien believed that his eldest son would definitely create a miracle, because this son was carrying the holy body of light and was destined to lead the Light Clan to greater glory. Everything was ready, and all forces in the universe were paying attention to the development of the situation. On the light curtain, the picture was changing continuously. When they saw Empress Fuyao appear on behalf of heaven and fight against the 7 great Tianzhaos on the supreme list alone, it instantly caused quite a stir. Because they didn't expect that the seemingly weak heaven actually had such a strong person in charge. Who was that woman, so domineering? Empress Fuyao, she is Empress Fuyao. An ancient creature who recognized her identity shouted excitedly. Empress Fuyao, the starry sky was shaken, and the hearts of the strong were awed. They naturally heard of this ancient supreme from the old times. But they didn't expect that this ancient supreme was not dead back then, and was still fighting for heaven, fighting against the 7 great Tianzhaos. This is interesting, the former Empress Fuyao actually reappeared in the world. It can be seen that she was implicated by the environment of Kunlun realm, otherwise with her supreme talent, she would have grown to the same level as us long ago. What a pity. Now is no longer her era, it is only a matter of time before she is suppressed. A group of Saint Ancestor realm bigwigs were talking behind the scenes, some were sneering, some were gloating, some were sighing and regretful, and some were indifferent. Although it was a surprise to them that Empress Fuyao was still alive, that was all. After all, Empress Fuyao was being suppressed at this moment, and it was only a matter of time before she would be defeated. Saint Martial realm. When Panlong Wusheng saw the familiar and majestic tall figure on the light curtain, his head suddenly roared, his eyes opened incredibly wide, and his lips were trembling. It's really you. His thoughts drifted to the distant ancient times. At that time, he had just been promoted to the immortal emperor, and he was ambitious and full of blood. He couldn't help but travel and challenge the powerful stars all the way, and finally ended with his victory. Until he met a peerless and majestic tall figure, who was also in the immortal emperor realm, but was defeated by the other party in less than 3 moves. He was defeated miserably and was hit hard. Just when he was about to sink, the woman used a few words to wake him up and inspire his fighting spirit. Looking at the woman's back as she left, he mustered up the courage to ask her name, and she only left the word, Fuyao. Many years later, the name of Empress Fuyao shook the starry sky and became one of the few saints in the entire universe. Later, he heard the news of Empress Fuyao's death, and an unspeakable sadness surged in his heart. This incident left a deep impression on Panlong Wusheng. Later, he had to admit that he had a feeling of admiration for Empress Fuyao. But so what, the only woman who moved him in his life was dead, and this emotion was buried in the deepest part of his heart, forever sealed. At this moment, Panlong Wusheng saw the familiar figure reappear again, and the shock in his heart was incomparable. The emotion that was buried in his heart in the past broke out again. Especially when he saw Empress Fuyao being besieged by the 7 great geniuses, it was like a sharp sword piercing his heart deeply. Boom! At this moment, the anger of Panlong Wusheng swept through his chest. He would not allow the object of his former admiration to be bullied by a few youngsters. Stop it! An angry roar suddenly came from the holy martial realm, directly shaking the galaxy of billions of miles. What's going on? In the shocked eyes of countless creatures, a golden hand surrounded by countless dragon-shaped holy energy stretched across the vast starry sky and grabbed towards Kunlun realm with great momentum. Window. _Tabula equals window. _Tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 by 250 feet. Placement, below article thumbnail 300 by 250 feet, target_type, mix. Chapter 761, Urgent, Urgent. What a strong aura, which Saint Ancestor Realm Master has taken action? Many people exclaimed. It's Panlong Wusheng of the Holy Martial Realm. He actually wants to intervene in this fight. Why, is he friends with Empress Fuyao? It's entirely possible. When seeing Panlong Wusheng disregarding the overall situation and reaching out to Kunlun Realm at this critical moment, countless creatures in the universe were horrified. You know, this is a big deal. Once it arouses the dissatisfaction of the 10 major worlds, how can the Holy Martial Realm alone bear it? Sure enough, the moment Panlong Wusheng took action, the anger in the hearts of many giants was immediately ignited. The reason why they sat behind the scenes was to prevent external forces from intervening and try to maintain the fairness of this fight. However, there is still a guy who dares to intervene in this incident against the will of the world. This is simply a slap in their faces. Panlong Wusheng, you are so brave. The roars came from all directions of the universe, carrying a surging killing intent. In an instant, the Golden Hand was forcibly defeated by multiple forces, and the last dragon roar was slightly sad. In the Holy Martial Realm, Panlong Wusheng looked ugly. After calming down, he also realized that his actions were too impulsive. Even if he was eager to save people, facing the supervision of a group of saint ancestors, his idea was doomed to be in vain. Panlong Wusheng, no matter how you and Empress Fuyao were in the past, the current situation should be fair, and your move will only break the fairness of this fight, so you must give us a reasonable explanation. The Lord of 10,000 Swords said coldly. Swish, 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 many huge divine consciousness fell on the Holy Martial Realm, making the cultivators of the Holy Martial Realm tremble with fear. Although the Holy Martial Realm ranks in the top 30 in the Divine Court, it is ultimately supported by Panlong Wusheng alone. There are many people like him in the 10 worlds of Shenting. This is the difference in foundation. The Panlong Wusheng who was held accountable had fine sweat on his forehead. He was just a junior in front of the Lord of 10,000 Swords, and they were not at the same level at all. I'm really sorry, I was impulsive, please forgive me, fellow Taoists. Under the pressure of the situation, Panlong Wusheng gritted his teeth, lowered his proud head, and bowed. His heart was full of frustration and shame. The woman he loved in the past was besieged and in danger, and he could only watch helplessly. It was so uncomfortable, there was no way, even if Panlong Wusheng had the will, he was powerless. His Saint Ancestor realm was at the level of a big boss outside, but in front of the 10 worlds of Shenting, he was at most a person with a little weight. Besides, he had only broken through not long ago, how could he compare with a group of veteran Saint Ancestor realm powerhouses? Besides, he shoulders the responsibility of revitalizing the Holy Martial Realm. If he insists on doing it his own way, it doesn't matter if he is killed in the end, but if he implicates billions of lives in the Holy Martial Realm, he will be a complete sinner. So, Panlong Wusheng has no reason not to bow his head. You can do it yourself. The Lord of 10,000 Swords said indifferently. Seeing Panlong Wusheng bow his head to admit his mistakes, the giants of other worlds sneered, and they were too lazy to continue to pursue the matter, and turned their attention back to the light curtain suspended in the starry sky. They all saw why Panlong Wusheng did this, and it must have something to do with the Fuyao Empress. It's a pity that fate plays tricks on people. The peerless Empress who once dominated the starry sky will be killed by several juniors in the future today. Looking at the picture on the light curtain, the woman who was still stubborn and unyielding even in a desperate situation, Panlong Wusheng's heart twitched. He took a deep breath and turned his face away, unable to bear to see the next scene. At this moment, a silver-haired young man appeared in the light curtain and walked towards the injured Fuyao Empress. Isn't that Yi Tiandi? What a shitty Yi Tiandi, is he worthy of this name now? Hee, if you go there now, do you want to die together? Besides this, is there any other possibility? Facing the combined efforts of the 7 great geniuses, even Fuyao Empress was defeated. What kind of storm can he, a useless person, stir up? Discussions arose, full of sarcasm. In everyone's opinion, Yi Junlin has become a useless person, unable to resist the attack of the 7 great geniuses, and can only die obediently. It was him who killed my little son. Situ Tien, the patriarch of the Light Clan, gnashed his teeth in hatred. Now he just wanted to watch the murderer being executed. Just when all the creatures in the universe thought that Yi Junlin had given up resistance and was ready to die. As a result, an unexpected scene happened. Yi Junlin once again showed his Saint King cultivation, which frightened many cultivators from outside the domain who looked down on him. The starry sky shook. Whether it was the divine court or the nine netherworld, countless strong men were shocked at this moment, realizing that they had been deceived by that man. Yi Tiandi's cultivation did not regress, he deliberately released false news in order to confuse the outside world. This was a trap from beginning to end. They were all kept in the dark and played around. It turned out that I was the clown. What good does this do for him? A Tianzhao asked puzzled. Is he trying to catch all the invading enemies in one fell swoop? Is this possible? A leader from the immortal ancient sect asked in surprise. This is an arrogant lunatic. He is shooting himself in the foot. More people were angry and embarrassed. It is true that Yi Junline's exposure of his Saint King realm cultivation changed everyone's view of him, but it is generally believed that Yi Junline's move was digging his own grave, and that he was still unable to resist the group of geniuses on the supreme list. A new battle began. The picture on the light screen was changing wildly, which was thrilling. Yi Junline was like a peerless sword god, killing gods and Buddhas, and his momentum was invincible, simply invincible. For a time, he actually suppressed the seven geniuses. Eternal Sword Heart. How can this boy comprehend the Eternal Sword Heart? The Lord of 10,000 Swords saw something, his old face suddenly changed, and his eyes showed deep disbelief. Eternal Sword Heart is the ultimate realm of sword cultivation. As an old monster, the Lord of 10,000 Swords also took a lot of effort and experienced various failures before finally touching this realm, thus establishing his reputation as the first sword of the divine court. Thanks to the power of the Eternal Sword Heart, he is the top strongest person in the realm of the Saint Ancestor, and he is fully qualified to hold up the sky and be proud of the heroes. Who would have thought that a junior would also comprehend the Eternal Sword Heart several years later? What a terrifying and unparalleled top qualification is this! His most promising apprentice Lu Bai is not even qualified to carry his shoes. Suddenly, an ominous premonition became stronger in his heart. As the battle progressed, Yi Junline began to kill people in all directions, beheading 4 world sons including Yelua. Human race, you are looking for death. The puppet world and the other 3 worlds all heard extremely angry roars, which resounded through the vast starry sky, and many asteroids exploded and turned into powder. The creatures of the heavens and the worlds were greatly shocked. They did not expect that the fighting power of this Yi Tiandi was so strong that he killed 4 Tianzhao on the supreme list in a row. Then, the master of the 10,000 Swords realm, Lu Bai, was killed by a sword, and countless sword cultivators were stunned. No, the Lord of 10,000 Swords cried out in grief, as if his beloved son was killed. Lord of 10,000 Swords, our Oster will avenge your apprentice. The ancestor of the Titans gloated. Who would have thought that before he could finish his words for long, Oster was also pierced through the body by Yi Junline's sword, and before he died, he cried for help, "Ancestor, save me," his voice was full of helplessness and despair. The ancestor of the Titans was stunned on the throne, his face full of astonishment. Then, the wine glass in his hand was crushed with a bang, and a raging anger rubbed his head. He stood up and roared. From today on, my Titan realm and the Lord of Heaven will fight to the death. It was really a slap in the face. The most respected genius in the clan was only a sword in front of that man. In the end, even Shu Baishan, who ranked 4th, died in the battle, and the world of heaven was greatly shaken. The Lord of Heaven had a murderous look on his face, and said coldly, "Ah, this boy must die. Blood debt must be paid with blood." The successive changes made all the creatures of the races tremble with fear, thinking that this was a major event that could subvert the universe. 7 of the top 10 geniuses on the supreme list have been killed, and they died at the hands of one person. This is a slap in the face of the big guys behind the scenes. Seeing this situation, Panlong Wusheng came back to his senses from the shock, and looking at the giants who were furious, he suddenly felt relieved. Haha, you didn't look like this just now. It's true that only when the fist fell on him did he know how painful it was. His eyes returned to the silver-haired figure, and Panlong Wusheng's eyes flashed with shock. Being able to do this in the Saint King realm is definitely the legendary top posture. In the future, when he grows to the Saint Ancestor realm, he must be the one he looks up to. But, can this boy live to see that day? As his thoughts turned, Panlong Wusheng glanced at the angry Saint Ancestors, and his mood couldn't help but become heavy. Chapter 762 The Fight Behind the Scenes. Amitabha. A long-lasting Buddha's name spreads across the starry sky, as if it can cleanse the soul. In the Western Heaven realm, a cassock-clad figure emanating billions of feet of Buddha light sat cross-legged on the lotus platform and said in a calm tone. Dear donors, please be patient. I understand your feelings very well, but the matter is very important. Please do not interfere in this dispute at the moment. It will affect fairness. The speaker is the Supreme Buddha Lord of the Buddhist clan and the Supreme Leader of the Western Heaven Realm. Lord Buddha, you are making such sarcastic remarks. It's not your Buddha's son who is dead, so of course you don't think it matters. The ancestor of the Titan clan had a bad temper and roared angrily. The Lord Buddha's tone was emotionless and he said indifferently, "Monks do not lie. I assure you that the culprit will be dealt with as he deserves, but before that, please be patient." At this time, the Taoist leader of the Wuxi realm, who ranked first in the divine court, and the leader of the Tao clan, said lightly, "I agree with Lord Buddha. Since you are participating in this battle, you must be prepared for the worst, not to mention that the battle is not over yet. I believe that this so-called Emperor Yi Tian will soon be killed by the Daozi of our clan and help your descendants to avenge themselves." Quote. The figure of the Taoist master is shrouded in the mist of chaos, and it is difficult to see the reality clearly. It seems to exist in the past and the future, with an elusive and ethereal meaning. In terms of status, he and Lord Buddha are on par with each other. The two sides have been fighting openly and secretly for many years, but they also cooperate with each other. At this time, Taoist master made a speech, leaving all the world leaders speechless. HMPH. Seeing this, the ancestor of the Titan realm looked ugly and had to resist the urge to take action. The Lord of 10,000 Swords' eyes were dark and unclear, and he said nothing. No one understands the horror of the eternal sword heart better than him. If even the three geniuses cannot kill this son by then he will definitely have to go out and solve this huge disaster himself. Subsequently, realizing that the moment of decisive battle was approaching, countless creatures in the universe held their breaths, their hearts in their throats, and watched closely the changes in the light screen. Soon, Dao Wuan, Sakyamuni monk, and Situ Kong arrived, and started an unprecedented battle with Yi Junlin. I thought that with the three geniuses joining forces, the battle would be smoother. As a result, he and Yi Junlin were in a stalemate. In the eyes of everyone, this Yi Tiandi single-handedly blocked the three great geniuses in the Shenting world, which is already a shocking achievement. How is it possible? Many giants saw this and were shocked. In time, if this person reaches the realm of Saint Ancestor, even old monsters like us may not be able to suppress him. A veteran Saint Ancestor realm expert said with a numb scalp. The combat power displayed by Yi Junlin was so terrifying that it was far beyond their cognitive scope, and a strong sense of crisis began to emerge in their hearts. "No, my son Situ Kong will be fine," Situ Tian, the leader of the Guangming clan, said pretending to be calm. The Taoist master and the Buddha master looked solemn, obviously they also saw how difficult this battle was. But things have come to this, and we can only wait and see what happens. Suddenly, something strange happened on the battlefield. A strange formation trapped everyone including Yi Junlin, and the person who arranged the formation was a little Lolita with twin tails. Who was she? The starry sky was in an uproar. I recognize her. This girl is Rosa, the princess of the Asura tribe. A creature exclaimed. At this moment, the entire Shenting world exploded. It's obviously a matter in the divine court world, but a being from Juyu is involved, and she's also a princess of the Asura clan. The nature behind this is completely different. The abominable Juyu bastard, how dare you do something under our noses? Do you really think that there is no one in our divine court? Boom, a terrifying aura erupted, and the Titan clan ancestor rushed out of the world where he was, taking this opportunity to intervene forcefully. Under the guise of getting rid of Rosa, he actually wanted to kill Yi Junlin and avenge his descendants. Aha! At the same time, a huge phantom was projected into the starry sky, blocking the way of the Titan ancestor. It was a middle-aged man with a stalwart body, a domineering aura, and an intimidating gaze. He slapped his hand and sent the Titan ancestor back violently. "It's you." The ancestor of the Titan clan felt the terrifying power and said angrily. The person who took action was none other than the leader of the Asura clan, Luo Wuliang. Luo Wuliang is naturally paying attention to this fight. After all, whoever becomes the young master of the divine court will affect the subsequent situation. Unexpectedly, Luo Wuliang was stunned to see his precious daughter appear on the battlefield in the Kunlun realm. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, he quickly used his magical power to cast a projection to support his daughter. Boom boom boom. In the divine court world, many powerful Saint Ancestor realm auras erupted, all pointing at Luo Wuliang's projection. The starry sky trembled, and the war was about to break out. Amitabha, what do you mean by this, Master Luo? Do you want to formally declare war on our divine court world? Lord Buddha said solemnly. You can't defeat us with just a projection. Let's let your body come over. The Lord of 10,000 Swords said coldly. That being said, the deterrent power brought by this projection was also very huge, and they did not dare to take it lightly. After all, this is the method of the highest decision-maker of the Juyuten clan. In a sense, the other party's status is second only to the Lord of Nine Netherworlds. So, don't underestimate it. Luo Wuliang said solemnly, this is just an accident. I will take my little daughter away and will never interfere in your disputes. After all, he was indeed in the wrong in this matter. He did not expect that his daughter would be so bold and presumptuous this time, and actually dared to go deep into the Kunlun realm and make trouble under the noses of many world leaders. This move is undoubtedly a sheep walking into the tiger's mouth. Luo Wuliang was angry and anxious, and had no choice but to come forward to put pressure. However, the leaders of the worlds had their own ulterior motives, and they all wanted to take advantage of the opportunity and were unwilling to miss the opportunity to get rid of Yi Junlin. Get out! The Lord of Heaven shouted angrily, and the third eye on his forehead burst out a shocking beam of light, penetrating the vast starry sky. You dare! Luo Wuliang was furious and made a move to resist. Seeing the battle started, world leaders made moves one after another to attack the majestic and domineering projection. Rumble! No one expected that a terrifying battle belonging to the Saint Ancestor realm would break out like this. Although Luo Wuliang was known as the strongest among the 10 clans of the 9 netherworlds, he was only displaying a projection, and his strength was less than half, so it didn't take long for him to be suppressed by the giants. The projection flickered and gradually became illusory. Luo Wuliang's face was filled with shock and anger, and he was extremely anxious. Because if his projection was destroyed, it would be difficult for him to reach the scene in a short time. You know, there are many vast galaxies between the Shira realm and the Kunlun realm. You can't stop us. The Lord of 10,000 Swords made a gesture with one hand and pointed directly. Swish, a huge white long sword full of aura condensed, and then pierced Luo Wuliang's projection. Wherever it passed, there was a scene of galaxies being destroyed. Luo Wuliang's heart sank to the bottom of the valley, and he knew that his projection would be destroyed with this sword. Suddenly, an old sigh sounded, ah! Instantly, a skinny hand grabbed the huge white sword and broke it directly. The sword body turned into a dazzling starlight and dissipated. Who? The face of the Lord of 10,000 Swords changed. The strong men who could do this were all the best in the world. The giants noticed something and looked at him in surprise. Luo Wuliang was also surprised and wanted to know who helped him at this critical moment. After all, no clan leader from Juyu stood up to support him. First, the distance was too far, and second, they were unwilling to help in this matter. So, the strong men in the Divine Court realm who could help him at present. Who is it? Suddenly, the universe was silent. An old man dressed simply and dressed like a farmer stepped out from a star field. Every step could span billions of miles, and the aura on his body was unfathomable. You are. The Lord of 10,000 Swords' pupils shrank, because he could keenly feel that the other party was very dangerous. The Taoist stared at the old man who looked like a farmer, and said with a solemn tone, no wonder I always feel that there is an unknown breath lingering in the universe. It turns out that person is you, and you are still alive. It is hard to imagine that the other party is an existence that even the leader of the Wuxi realm is afraid of. The faces of the giants showed doubts, and a lot of information was revealed from this sentence. The Lord of Heaven asked tentatively, may I ask the Taoist, who is he? The Taoist said in a deep voice, you must have heard of this person. He is one of the 4 great masters of ancient Kunlun, Chengsheng Wang. Hearing this, the hearts of the giants were shocked, and their eyes showed incredible. The 4 great masters of ancient Kunlun are Fuyao Empress, Emperor Tian, Chengsheng Wang, and Luan. It is said that in the incident that year, Luan surrendered to the enemy and rebelled, Fuyao Empress died in battle, Emperor Tian was captured alive, and Chengsheng Wang disappeared. The Kunlun realm declined from prosperity to decline, and began to lag behind this era. Who would have thought that many years later, not only did Empress Fuyao survive, but even the long-lost Chengsheng Wang showed up. Chapter 759 There's nothing wrong with it. Kunlun realm. Hee, a parting gift for you, you're welcome. Yi Junlin smiled playfully. He didn't have the intention to kill Rosa, and she also helped him a lot. It would be best if he could capture her alive, but it didn't matter if he couldn't. Anyway, the other party was hit by his big belly finger. With his current cultivation, it would take at least several decades to subside and return to normal. This is already a very painful price for the proud and face-conscious Asura princess. Yi Junlin even had a vague premonition that maybe one day in the future, the other party would come back to him again. So far, the dust has settled, and a great war has come to an end. The Kunlun realm is boiling like the sea, and everyone is shouting the name of Yi Tiandi. Every cultivator is proud from the bottom of their hearts. That man once again proved himself with absolute strength. Yi Tiandi, invincible. This statement has become the consensus of all Kunlun realm cultivators. It is already known to everyone, no doubt about it. Yi Junlin adjusted his state and returned to the heavenly palace. The eyes of the cultivators in the heavenly palace were full of enthusiasm, and they gathered around to express their respect. Fellow Taoist Yi, you really gave me a big surprise. It seems that even without me, you can still lead the Kunlun realm to glory. The face of the Fuyao Empress was full of emotion, and her tone was a little envious. She was the supreme being of the ancient times, and her vision was naturally very high, but today, seeing what Yi Junlin did, even such a proud her was impressed. She admitted that even if the realm was equal, she was not as powerful as this silver-haired young man. Speaking of which, the Fuyao Empress is really worthy of being a peerless heroine. She has been strong and brave in her life, but she will also admit the strength of others and face her own shortcomings. Yi Junlin smiled. Dao Yu Fuyao, don't belittle yourself. You are as important to Kunlun realm as I am. Moreover, I also know your ability to deal with problems during this period. In a sense, you are more suitable to be the lord of the heavenly court than me. This is true. The affairs of the heavenly court are busy. During the period when Yi Junlin was in charge, he was busy for 3 days and dry the net for 2 days, and basically left it to Lu Wangshu to handle. After it was Fuyao Empress' turn to take charge, these affairs were handled in an orderly manner, showing a very high level of business. Dao Yi, you really promoted me. Fuyao Empress smiled bitterly. She purely regarded Yi Junlin's words as a kind of comfort. She had no desire to be the lord of the heavenly court. She just felt that the competent person should take the position. At the critical moment, there must be a reliable person to take the lead and preside over the overall situation. Now, seeing Yi Junlin regain his glory again, Fuyao Empress felt that she should withdraw. If Yi Junlin knew this idea, he would probably be so depressed that he would vomit blood. Tong Wudi and others had mixed feelings in their hearts. Fortunately, they did not add insult to injury before, otherwise how embarrassing it would be. Report to the Emperor of Heaven, there are still many foreign cultivators stranded in Kunlun realm. Should we take necessary measures? Lu Wangshu said seriously. Yi Junlin's eyes flashed, and he said meaningfully, as an outsider, you have to pay some money to watch such a wonderful show. That makes sense. Lu Wangshu was stunned and said quickly. A strange look appeared on his face, knowing what Yi Junlin meant. Everyone knew it well and tried to hold back their smiles. I'm tired, you can handle the rest by yourselves. Yi Junlin rubbed his eyebrows, and his figure flashed and disappeared from the spot. After experiencing a series of battles, he should have a good rest and recover. Let's send off the Emperor of Heaven. Lu Wangshu and others bowed, and the shouts resounded over the sky of the heavenly court. At the same time, in Tiandi City, the outsiders were still in shock, and they were still immersed in the fact that Yi Junlin had slaughtered the list. They could not imagine how much of a sensation this matter would cause to the universe if it spread out. Everyone, what should we do now? A man swallowed his saliva and asked. What else can we do? Of course, we should leave quickly. Someone's tone was a little nervous and fearful. That's right, leave Kunlun realm. All the outsiders had this idea. They gathered here from afar just to witness the birth of the young master of the divine court, but the top 10 geniuses on the supreme list who participated in the competition were killed without a single one left. What's the point of staying here? It's better to run away quickly, so as not to be involved. Now, the majesty of the heavenly court, even if they have 10,000 courage, dare not offend, because Yi Tiandi, the lord of the heavenly court, is a super giant with strength comparable to the saint ancestor realm. How dare they have the slightest contempt? Hualala. All the powerful people from outside the domain started to run away, not wanting to stay in this place of trouble for a moment longer. Stop right there. A shout. The Yin Emperor led the heavenly court team to stop them, and the golden flags with the word heavenly court fluttered in the wind, which was particularly conspicuous. You, what are you going to do? An old man with the cultivation of the Saint King level said as if he was facing a great enemy. Before, he would definitely not bother to talk nonsense and slap them. Anyway, they were all a group of ants to him. But now, he dared not offend any soldier of the heavenly court. This is the deterrent power brought by Yi Tiandi. At this time, facing the interception of the heavenly court team, the old Saint King's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. He did not dare to neglect it, so he had to bite the bullet and ask. The Yin Emperor put his hands behind his back and said in a high and mighty tone, "You have entered the Kunlun realm without permission, and you should be punished by death, but the Heavenly Emperor is magnanimous and forgives your mistakes. You only need to hand over a certain amount of property before you can leave safely." The powerful men from outside the domain looked at each other, thinking that they were extremely unlucky. This is obviously asking them to pay protection fees. But compared to losing their lives, this is the best result at the moment. "Hurry up, what are you doing? Our Heavenly Emperor is watching you from above. Whoever doesn't pay will die." The Yin Emperor threatened viciously. "No, no, no, we will give it to you right away." The old Saint King and others shuddered with fear. Everything Yi Junlin did was still vivid in their minds, leaving them with an indelible psychological shadow. Now, hearing this, they dared not hesitate at all, and directly took out their accumulated magic weapons, talismans and holy crystals, and handed them over like beans pouring out of a bamboo tube. "That's right," the Yin Emperor nodded, with a smug smile on his face. This feeling of taking advantage of someone's power is so damn good. No wonder Go Bully likes to be a lackey so much. He used to use the name of Empress Fuyao to bully others. Now he has also experienced this feeling, which is really wonderful. You know, he is just a true saint, but he can make a group of powerful people from outside the domain who are more powerful than him obey his orders in an orderly manner. Such a wonderful feeling, whoever experiences it will be overwhelmed. It seems that there is nothing wrong with being a younger brother. Yin Emperor said to himself. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode, thumbs feed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 by 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail 300 by 250 feet, target _type, mix. Chapter 760, The Former Object of Admiration. Time goes back to before the war started. The entire universe is focusing on Kunlun Realm, especially the 10 worlds of Shenting, and regards Kunlun Realm as a big stage, because there, an unprecedented young master of Shenting will be born. And the world behind the young master of Shenting will achieve true transcendence, and his position of ruling the heavens and the worlds in the future will be unshakable. It is a matter of great interest and must be taken seriously. In the vast starry sky, an oversized light curtain appeared, projecting the scene of Tiandi City in Kunlun Realm. The eyes of all races of creatures are focused on this light curtain, as if they want to witness the birth of the young master of Shenting together. Unfortunately, the top 3 of the Supreme List haven't arrived yet. I think they have the greatest chance of winning. Do we need to guess? Of course, Dao Wuan of Wuxi Realm has the best chance. He is known as a rare genius of the Dao clan. It is said that even the Dao Master is full of praise for him. Amitabha, I think the Buddhist son of the Western Heaven Realm is not bad either. It is rumored that he has touched the ultimate realm of Zen meditation, the Bodhi Buddha heart. If they really fight, the Buddhist son of the Western Heaven Realm will also have great hope. HMPH, I am very optimistic about the new world Sun Satu Kong of the Heaven Realm. He is the descendant of the legendary Holy Body of Light. He defeated the previous world Sun a while ago and is even more powerful. He is the leader of the younger generation of the Light Clan. There were discussions all over the starry sky, and the topic basically revolved around the top 3 of the Supreme List. After all, these are the 3 strongest Tianjiao in the Divine Court realm, and the other 7 are simply incomparable. On the surface, they are on the same list, but in fact, the gap between them is very large. This led to many creatures thinking that the top 3 on the Supreme List were more qualified to compete for the position of Young Master of the Divine Court. As for the other Tianjiao, they were just here to make up the numbers and serve as a background wall. But there was a group of people who held different opinions. I think Shu Beishan, who ranks 4th, has great potential. I heard that his divine eyes have evolved to a very high level and have many incredible abilities. Yes, in my opinion, he is a dark horse. Such people are often the most likely to create miracles. Oster of the Titan clan is also very powerful. He has pure Titan blood flowing in his body, and his physical defense is even the best in the same realm. I think Lu Bai, the world master of the 10,000 swords realm, should not be underestimated. He is known for breaking all laws with one sword and is the most satisfied disciple of the Lord of 10,000 swords. Although it is not as popular as the top 3 on the Supreme List, there is still a lot of discussion. There is a sense of déjà vu similar to a large-scale star-chasing scene, and the fan groups of each idol are large and small. The giants of the 10 major worlds are always paying attention behind the scenes. This is like a proxy battle, and they, as Saint Ancestor realm powerhouses, are restraining each other behind the scenes. In fact, they know very well that there can only be one young master of the divine court, and the other 9 are destined to fail. The higher the ranking, the greater the hope. As for the more, it is to show up on behalf of the world to which they belong and show a certain strength to the outside world. This is the correct answer. Anyway, this kind of fight will stop at a certain point, and generally there will be no death. For Liu Bai, this kid, I don't expect him to win the position of young master. I just hope he can perform better and spread the reputation of my 10,000 Swords realm. After all, my 10,000 Swords realm is also a pilgrimage site for the vast number of sword cultivators. The one who spoke was the Lord of 10,000 Swords. He has already stood at the end of the sword path and is also known as the first sword in the divine court realm. Oster, cheer up, don't lose points. In the Titan realm, a one-eyed old man with blue skin, a knotted white beard, and a horn helmet sat on the throne, holding up a wine glass and shouting at the light curtain. He is the ancestor of the Titans, a ruthless man who can blow up thousands of planets with one punch and make the galaxy deviate from its orbit with a breath. My son Situ Kong has the appearance of a young master of the divine court. In the heaven realm, Situ Tien, the patriarch of the Light Clan, slapped his thigh and shouted excitedly. Although he was sad about losing his youngest son, fortunately, his eldest son Situ Kong was very competitive. He had just recovered from his injuries and officially set off for the Kunlun realm. Situ Tien believed that his eldest son would definitely create a miracle, because this son was carrying the holy body of light and was destined to lead the Light Clan to greater glory. Everything was ready, and all forces in the universe were paying attention to the development of the situation. On the light curtain, the picture was changing continuously. When they saw Empress Fuyao appear on behalf of heaven and fight against the 7 great Tianzhaos on the supreme list alone, it instantly caused quite a stir. Because they didn't expect that the seemingly weak heaven actually had such a strong person in charge. Who was that woman, so domineering? Empress Fuyao, she is Empress Fuyao. An ancient creature who recognized her identity shouted excitedly. Empress Fuyao, the starry sky was shaken, and the hearts of the strong were awed. They naturally heard of this ancient supreme from the old times. But they didn't expect that this ancient supreme was not dead back then, and was still fighting for heaven, fighting against the 7 great Tianzhaos. This is interesting, the former Empress Fuyao actually reappeared in the world. It can be seen that she was implicated by the environment of Kunlun realm, otherwise with her extraordinary talent, she would have grown to the same level as us long ago. What a pity. Hee, now is no longer her era, it is only a matter of time before she is suppressed. A group of Saint Ancestor realm bigwigs were talking behind the scenes, some were sneering, some were gloating, some were sighing and regretful, and some were indifferent. Although it was a surprise to them that Empress Fuyao was still alive, that was all. After all, Empress Fuyao was being suppressed at this moment, and it was only a matter of time before she would be defeated. Saint Martial Realm. When Panlong Wusheng saw the familiar and majestic tall figure on the light curtain, his head suddenly roared, his eyes opened incredibly wide, and his lips were trembling. It's really you. His thoughts drifted to the distant ancient times. At that time, he had just been promoted to the immortal emperor, and he was ambitious and full of blood. He couldn't help but travel and challenge the powerful stars all the way, and finally ended with his victory. Until he met a peerless and majestic tall figure, who was also in the immortal emperor realm, but was defeated by the other party in less than 3 moves. He was defeated miserably and was hit hard. Just when he was about to sink, the woman used a few words to wake him up and inspire his fighting spirit. Looking at the woman's back as she left, he mustered up the courage to ask her name, and she only left the word, Fuyao. Many years later, the name of Empress Fuyao shook the starry sky and became one of the few saints in the entire universe. Later, he heard the news of Empress Fuyao's death, and an unspeakable sadness surged in his heart. This incident left a deep impression on Panlong Wusheng. Later, he had to admit that he had a feeling of admiration for Empress Fuyao. But so what, the only woman who moved him in his life was dead, and this emotion was buried in the deepest part of his heart, forever sealed. At this moment, Panlong Wusheng saw the familiar figure reappear again, and the shock in his heart was incomparable. The emotion that was buried in his heart in the past broke out again. Especially when he saw Empress Fuyao being besieged by the 7 great geniuses, it was like a sharp sword piercing his heart deeply. Boom! At this moment, the anger of Panlong Wusheng swept through his chest. He would not allow the object of his former admiration to be bullied by a few youngsters. Stop it! An angry roar suddenly came from the holy martial realm, directly shaking the galaxy for billions of miles. What's going on? In the shocked eyes of countless creatures, a golden hand surrounded by countless dragon-shaped holy energy stretched across the vast starry sky and grabbed towards Kunlun realm with great momentum.